Oh, where'd my vid?
Autumnal periods of better weather, should I say, really providing for some clearer views, as there's some more cars now waiting to go to the pad that appears next to our highway site.
Yeah, I recall the last one we had sort of little bouts of fog that sort of rolled in and made it a bit hard to see some of the detail, but it's great that we're there.
Okay, live circle did not work. I don't know how they put emojis in their fucking streams.
So those cars appear to be parked.
Frickin'.
They're just kind of sat there.
Frickin' goddamn.
Car at the roadblock, and
creators not divulging their secrets. So, chat. It is very early. I woke up and I saw that they were going to launch, and I was like, I gotta stream this. I've been wanting to stream this since IFT-4. And, man, it's here. It's here. There we go. That should fix it. Let's not have any stream title L's. So right now we are watching NASA's space flight. They are showing us some shots from Boca Chica, Texas, where IFT-5 is going to happen. Full disclosure, I am not a huge Elon Musk fan. He's a fake engineer. He absolutely has the worst civil infrastructure projects, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be sent to jail for fraud at some point, unless we lack justice in the system. But you know, I don't want to sound too much like Thunderfoot yet, especially since I'm planning on playing one of his videos while we wait. You know what, you guys can shut up. I don't want to have to compete. So, just to be super clear, this is not a fan stream. This is the reason I said Leftist watches SpaceX is because I think it's almost kind of intuitive. Here, let's get a background going. It's almost kind of intuitive to know that a leftist isn't going to be very down with what Elon Musk tries to do. Oh, my background's already going. Let's see here. This is going to be mess. Oh, god damn it. I think I get how it works now. I think I get why I keep losing that, but I don't have a plan yet. Okay, the red circle showed up. Red circle shows up for these guys in my OBS. So there's a way to transmit that data. I don't know if it's like a Unicode thing or whatever, but okay, so I have another window ready. Let's see here. Whoops, not the one I wanted. P5. Okay, close enough. No? So close yet so far. Okay, spread that out. Drop that down. Okay, now we've got some dynamic graphics, I think. Is this even still running? Nope. Gonna have to start splitting up tabs. Oh, right, that changed the window size. That's so freaking annoying. Okay, that... What is my life? What is my life? Chat? Is this my life? Now I don't know if my graphics are working. They're talking about how there are a bunch of cars at the launch pad at the moment, going into and out of. That's usually a sign that they're doing some maintenance. Oh, and there's like, that's a legit helicopter. Wait, what is going on? Oh, and we're actually behind. I'm not live. We're not live. That must be... I don't know what they're showing. Okay, let's get rid... Yeah, okay, so we are at 2 hours. In 2 hours, spaceship will launch. And you might be thinking, 2 hours? That's a really long time. What are you planning on doing? Well, we are going to listen to some NASA spaceflight, who I think are the biggest simps for Elon in the world. They really want those Elon bucks, and they do not know how to criticize anything he does. I say that with some caveats. They will criticize things about it, but it'll always be like, right, but this is exactly what you would expect to see, of course, even though we don't actually always see this from NASA. Sometimes we see like failed launches and stuff like that, but sometimes we don't. We're also going to watch a Thunderfoot video directly calling out Elon Musk, and if there's enough time, we are going to watch a CSI Starbase video because I like both of those channels a lot. Now, to be clear, I disavow Thunderfoot's anti-feminist Gamergate bullshit. He needs to. I still think he needs to properly apologize for that, but maybe I've missed him doing that. Why are they doing these cuts? It's so annoying. Like they normally do like, you know, the StreamYard layout where it's like one main window and then 3 windows at the side. But nope, this is too much to ask apparently. Oh man, let's listen to what they're saying.
Let's have a look through here. This is an interesting question. I'm sure many people will be thinking, Kane Copeland asking, with all of these things going on, any idea on the T0? Alex, at this point, is there any indications that they're pushing the T0, or is the opening of the window still the target? You know, pending your spreadsheets, shall I say?
Well, they did have, or what appeared to be some kind of issues there, right? They sent folks down to the pad. We're not sure whether they are on track for the opening of the window. There's still a 30-minute window, right, that they could hit. The next major activity that we should be looking for is the tower and OLM vents that we mentioned before. And, you know, if they are on track for a 7 a.m. Central launch time, that should happen roughly 30 minutes from now, maybe 40. So essentially around the T-minus 1 hour and 30 minutes, T-minus 1 hour, 20-minute mark. It's a bit variable. It's not always exact, like down to the second or anything.
Of course. I'm not going to try to criticize SpaceX if they don't hit their goal for takeoff. That's not even like... So I'm mostly going to criticize SpaceX for what I think are Elon's overly lofty goals that put too much pressure on engineers and lead to some of the failures we saw, like during IFT-4 and during IFT-3. And Musk fans will just scream that, like, no, IFT-4 was a success. It was such a success. Elon should be fucking catching that thing by IFT-4 if he ever plans on going to the moon. And I'll get into that. Thunderfoot will back me up on that claim. Or maybe I'm backing up Thunderfoot. Anyways, the whole idea is that, you know, SpaceX and the engineers and all the people running, I'm sure they're great people. I'm sure they're competent. I'm sure they're qualified. Maybe they lack a little bit of criticality for Elon Musk, but maybe they just need a job. And what they're doing right now, while I'm speaking to you, is trying to make this rocket launch. Whether or not it's Elon's rocket isn't the point. They're just trying to make the rocket launch, and that's their jobs. So if there's a delay or something like that, I'm not going to necessarily know if it's just, you know, typical, you know, checks and stuff like that to make sure there's no issues. We don't know if it's like a typical malfunction that could just happen on any ship, or if it's actually one of Elon's harebrained designs getting in the way. We usually never find out. Since IFT-4, they haven't released a lot of details as to what exactly failed. We definitely haven't heard whether or not the Pez dispenser worked the way it should. It might be interesting actually to go over that, but it might also be more interesting just to watch someone else cover it, just because there might be a few things that are slipping my memory at this point. And I'm just gonna bring them back up again. Whoops, that sounded terrible.
But what they do, they're very clever actually, really. There's just a whole heap of pipework inside, so they run all the liquid oxygen safe.
Wait, what are you talking about?
The sub chillers that actually, obviously less of it to get to the orbital to gases. If you want that connect thick pipe, you need a tall.
Wow, he's yapping.
Why do they exist, basically?
Yeah, so leading right up into the system, there's obviously a lot of pipe work. You're talking about filling a 70-meter tall booster, 9 diameters wide, full of cryogenics, and obviously the Starship on top of that. So
Oh, that reminds me. I will acknowledge the advancements that are being made here, like with liquid methane and oxygen and supercooling and stuff like that. That's all really neat. We didn't need Elon to do that. Actually, that's been in the works for a long time. I think they've even done it before. So, while that is a much better form of energy density storage, certainly has potential um, for reusability and stuff like that, and being environmentally friendly. If we're being totally honest, because you have to, if you capture that methane first, then you've actually taken carbon out of the air. But I'm not going to get into that. And granted, carbon neutrality is an issue, but um, with like this isn't a bad technology. But the sad thing is that Elon owns it instead of like if I were to have any private person do that, like I really like what's that Blue Glen and the Virgin Galactic things. Those is Virgin Galactic still even going? Let's actually quickly look that up. Now, granted, I'm not like a huge space person, so at the end of the day, I could be wrong about some of this, and you're totally welcome to check me on this. I don't think founded. That's a lot of. It's a lot of downward red arrows. That actually kind of makes me curious if. I don't think it's done. But look at that. That's a lot of red arrows. I'm just saying. That kind of makes me wonder, just real quick. I did not mean to open that up in a new tab. They only give 2 arrows. See, this is kind of what I mean about Musk fans. Like, they're only confident within a lack of information. Like, they can only pretend that SpaceX is better than something like Virgin Galactic because there's 2 less arrows here that could be red, could be green. We don't know. And SpaceX is just such like a secretive company. I don't know how they could be so confident in that, given like Elon's constant blunders in every other thing he does, like Tesla and everything. Given that like just like you have no confidence to actually say that like yeah, SpaceX is doing great. It's all just you're kind of guessing based on like you're seeing SpaceX do stuff, but that doesn't mean it's doing great financially. Right, we're going back to this.
So there's a lot of pipe work, a lot of very thick pipe work that leads all the way up to the orbital launch mount, the OLM, and right up into the tower, up to the ship quick disconnect, which is the little port that connects into the ship on the top of the stack there. So there's a lot of pipe work that's currently sitting there.
Oh man, we just brought up ship quick disconnect. So all I have to say about that is like if there's anything that makes it that way Starship isn't reusable, it's the fact that every single time this thing launches, they need to go back to the quick disconnect and just completely revamp it. It's starting to seem like the sort of thing that unless they actually pull it away faster, so that way, you know, the propulsion systems can't just like roast it, then I don't know what they can really do. Like you can shield it, like that's certainly an option. It's certainly expensive, but at the end of the day, like metal expands when it's heated, right? So you're either covering the entire thing in ceramic plates, which will make it hard, which could make it harder to service unless you can work on it internally. But at the same time, like there's no way that like that ship disconnect that we're seeing there will continue to be in operation. And I'm just wondering, like, again, I'm not criticizing the engineers, but what was Elon thinking? He thinks he's an engineer. He should know like basic principles like heat makes metal expand. That whole arm is made out of metal. What did he think happened? That the whole thing just expands and contracts back to normal? Like that would be nice. That's usually not how it works. Especially since you have different components heating at different rates and cooling at different rates. So you're going to have deformity. It's kind of the same thing with the chopsticks too, and trying to catch stuff. Like they are going to get heated. They're going to expand. They could have deformity. I only hope that the engineers have solutions for that, and they might. They have heat tiles and stuff, but it's questionable.
To ambient temperature, right? So, if you just blast a whole heap of cryogenic fluid through it, it's going to vent a lot. It's going to convert a lot of that into gases. So what we're seeing when we see all this venting is we're seeing all the pipe work being chilled right down, right up the line.
I was not
obviously
watching
less
it.
of it to get to the orbital launch mount, and then it continues on right up the tower. So and also the sub chillers that actually convert and re-chill some of the cryogenic fluid for the oxygen and the methane that's used to propel the vehicle. The venting that you'll see on the ground, most of that is coming from the sub chillers. And the sub chiller is that they've been nicknamed hippos in the past, and that's because they sort of resemble hippos. But what they do, they're very clever actually, really. There's just a whole heap of pipework inside, so they run all the liquid oxygen, say, or the methane, depending on which side. There's two sides of the tank farm. It'll run through that. And those big hippo units are filled with liquid nitrogen, which is actually a lower temperature than liquid oxygen and liquid methane. So they can use that nitrogen to super chill the oxygen and the methane. And that, again, causes a whole heap of nitrogen to be converted to gas as it warms up. So that's all vented out quite aggressively at the top of the hippos. For the liquid.
So I'm just going to point out, energy-wise, this is not an efficient process. You can't get 100% efficiency in cooling unless you're directly cooling the gas itself. Using another gas to cool something, I'm just going to say, like, entropy has its own ideas. So, we could probably still even do this better. And the problem is that Elon, he's already well past his goals. Like he's never going to reach his goals of getting to the moon. So he's really trying to get like these launches out as quickly as possible to keep like his fan base just excited and his donors excited at this point, because he is not making his goals for like HLS with NASA. I guarantee you they're already considering other alternatives.
Oxygen, so that's all sort of dumped over a wall. There's 8 of those from memory. Correct me if I'm wrong there. There's 8 of the sub-chillers on the oxygen side and 4 on the methane side. So all of this pipework needs to be kind of cooled down. So that's what gives the venting that we see everywhere, just chilling the process. As soon as we see that chilling largely being stopped, what we then have is the propellant load going into the vehicle itself. And that's when we see the frost lines come up. So yeah, it's all quite exciting, and that happens.
God damn it!
It's going to happen. It happens quicker.
I will say it's somewhat interesting to see a launch in the morning. Midday launches, you have a perfectly blue sky, pretty like well lit from all angles until it's like until like the sun is behind it from whatever camera angle. Morning time will have some very interesting perspectives. We even have like a darkened sky, which will allow us to see the propulsion plumes better, and what I think are called mock diamonds. Mm-hmm. That's when you actually see like recurring. What do you call it? The amplitude of the jet doubles up and in discrete ways. Sorry for the non-nerds in chat. That's just really fun because I do find that to be quite spectacular. Propellants go boom. It's it's like a visceral reaction to kind of be like, whoa, that's really cool. Even if there are some problematic elements.
and quicker actually as they get more and more infrastructure at the tank farm. They used to only have the 4 on each side, or they might have had 6 on the oxygen, but they've added a few more recently in the last year. And so they're able to fill up the entire vehicle and go through this chill down process quite a bit quicker.
Yeah, and it's a really long process.
Okay, so let's just quickly jump to live to see how much longer we have. An hour and 44 minutes. So we definitely have time for the Thunderfoot video. CSI Starbase might be a bit long, but we'll still see if we can slog through it. And so yes, you're seeing all of my business. I usually have more tabs open than this, so I'm not even embarrassed at this point. So, oh my god, it feels like he doesn't upload enough videos, but then when I actually have to go look for a video, it's like he's uploads too many videos. So yeah, I just want to present you with the chat. Oh, this is fun. This is fun. Have you guys been seeing what YouTube's been doing about ad block lately? I call it the ad wars. Is it going to do it? Yep, there it is. Just want to say, ads ruin people's experiences. If you're a creator and you don't want people's experience to be ruined, you should be against ads. It's that simple. Like, I'm trying to curate an experience for you right now, and if you have to watch ads to deal with it, that's bullshit. Like, I'm not worth dealing with advertisers just to see my content. And I really should have... You know what? Fuck it. We're going to do this. I'm going to bring you guys back here. Put you guys full screen. Make sure... Oh yeah, and YouTube thinks I'm actually trying to play this ad now, which is really funny. You know what I find most hilarious? Is like... You know who's least likely to buy something from an ad? People who use ad block. Yeah, like I'm never gonna buy any of these things. In fact, seeing that these companies are trying to ruin my entertainment experience just that way they can exist, annoys the shit out of me. Like, I'd rather not buy from these companies now. So, if we're talking about targeting actual demographics, YouTube is clearly just shit at it. They're going for bulk at this point. They're not targeting anything. These ads that even just like the first 2 seconds that I can see, they change by the channel. They target demographics based on the channel, not based on the user anymore. Because when you give more people ads, when you serve more people ads, and you can go to the people who are buying the ad time, you can say, well, we increased our ad viewers from 500,000 to 1 million, so you clearly need to pay us twice as much. And they will do that. Like, it's like this is a rotating billboard. YouTube is not a video platform. It is a rotating billboard that has like a little screen off to the side, so that way you look at that first, and then it's the billboard that takes all the attention. So you can, there's all sorts of like justifications for it and stuff like that. Oh, we need this to pay for it, even though people pay for YouTube Premium and buy memberships. Oh, well, that's just the way it's always worked, even though this is supposed to be a gig economy, so it's supposed to be an entirely new way of doing entertainment. Wow. YouTube's really desperate on this one, too. I did not have to do this much just to get to NSF. They're still going. I think I've refreshed it like 20 times now. And I have no idea what any of these companies are. I don't look at the screen while this is happening. I just stare at the refresh button, waiting for the screen to pop up that tells me that it's TOS, and then I just refresh again. Because eventually it's just going to try to serve 2 ads that don't have this, and then, and then I see the video. We wouldn't be seeing NASA space flight right now if there wasn't a way around this. So I just got to say, like, if you're a YouTube person, you're watching my stream, you're getting a little mad that I'm blocking ads, you're the problem. YouTube is the problem. I am just trying to enjoy my experience and provide my audience something that well, I'm not paid for these ads, right? So I'm not providing my audience with these ads. It's totally ridiculous to expect my audience to endure that. It's still trying. Oh, we got something different. It's trying 3 now. Here we go. Here we go, folks. That really looks like an ad the way it starts out. Okay. So now, oh, shoot. Kind of fucked myself with this layout. But here we go. Here we go. Go back in there. Wait. Oh, right. I have to grab it by the tab. I'm like Trump. I grab her by the tabs. No, I forget I said that. Okay, so we got everything we need. Good, let's go. Thunderfoot time. Oh.
Everyone say, Tim's going to the moon.
Tim's going.
Spoiler, Tim's not going to the moon.
I'm sorry. Did I step on your moment?
Grandpappy said there was a moral there about not worshipping bullshit merchants who will tell you whatever you want to hear.
That's a good
In
point.
2018, Elon Musk.
That's a really good point, Avius. Like, Patreon is such a huge, like, game changer in this. But you know what? That probably makes YouTube a little mad because they don't get their revenue. And that's like, we can think like, oh, they're just trying to exist. No, Google and Alphabet Corporation and even YouTube as like a subsidiary, as like a, what do you call them? A child company? Yeah. They just want to maximize profits for their CEOs. That's all it is. They don't give a shit if you actually enjoy what you're watching, so long as you click on the next video hoping to enjoy that. And so it just really makes me sad that a lot of content creators see this as like the only way to have a very entertaining platform, because Twitch isn't really good for like re-uploading videos and stuff like that. Most other services just aren't good either. Vimeo, I don't think you can stream on, and Rumble is just like a mess. So this is like our best hope, and YouTube does not give a shit about creators especially if you don't have at least 1 million subscribers.
Announced that they were going to be flying their first private customers around the moon by 2023.
Oh, well, thank God it's only 2022, right? Right?
Starship.
Offered to provide those seats to artists and cultural influencers and like basically, key influences in society. And
Okay, so you're already off to a bad start. Starship isn't really okay. He's gonna get into that, but like, I kind of disagree with like New Glenn, or is it called Blue Dawn? I don't remember. And Branson's whole thing, just because like you're just trying to be popular. There's no reason to bring them up there. They have no functional purpose in space. It's literally just to go viral. And so I am like, he's like, yo man, I'm so cool. I'm going to bring some artists and creators and influence up there. And I'm like, how are you an engineer? How are you anybody who should be putting stuff into space? Like, you're being contracted by NASA. I keep saying NASA for some reason. NASA. But you're contracted by NASA. I did it again. You're contracted by NASA to bring astronauts up to space to do actual purposes. And then you're showing in this video that your goals are completely different. Like, how can NASA trust that you have their end goals in mind? You're already going to push back HLS for them. So, I'm just saying, SpaceX kind of rides on these subsidiaries, and Elon is like the biggest fucking lover of government welfare. But even though he'll trash ordinary people for taking it. But like, as soon as they lose the majority of NASA contracts, the government's going to be like, why would we work with you? You're not doing anything for us anymore. You're just trying to get your dick extensions into space now. I really need to let this play. We're going to let it play for at least 5 minutes.
We better get that flight right.
And it's cancelled.
We're going to definitely be doing everything we possibly can to make sure that is a good flight.
To our first customer.
Awkward.
To our first and only customer.
So, funding VFR is definitely a key question, and you know, that's really where you know, we need to seek, you know, every possible means of funding. Private customers or any customers for BFR are incredibly helpful in funding the development of the rocket.
And their only paying customer was paying a significant fraction of the development costs of the rocket.
On the price, which is a significant price, and will actually have a material effect on the on paying for the cost of development of VFR. Like, it's a non-trivial amount that is, it's like of material impact to the BFR program. So it really, actually, it makes a difference. This is, yeah.
Now, there will be people out there who say, look, Musk revolutionized the cost of sending people to space. Just look at Commercial Crew and the Falcon 9. And they will quote this article saying, look, Musk's doing it for almost half the price that the Russians were. Maybe not understanding that the Russians used to charge 20 million a seat to orbit till they found they could price gouge Uncle Sam. And Musk's response was, I can still use my reusable tech to charge almost twice what the Russians used to charge with a disposable Soviet-era rocket. And the Musk fans will be saying, oh, yes, this is Thunderfoot. He irrationally hates Musk.
Right, so I was saying that Elon Musk loves loves government welfare. Or you can call it corporate welfare too, actually. He also loves gouging the government. So there's there's so much incentive for the government to say, you know, just fuck off, Elon. We don't want your business.
He will say any lie to try and discredit Musk. Or something about inflation. Oh, sorry, what's that? It's actually a quote from Musk. Burn.
Or the mercy of Putin, which is a very small thing. I mean, there, hopefully, but he's charged. I mean, the Soyuz seat prices started off at $20 million a piece. Now they're $80 million. $80 million for a seat on a Soyuz.
I bet they go down after we fly.
Yeah, competition is a beautiful thing.
Yep.
And now with the renewal of the Commercial Crew and Russia being a political no-go, SpaceX is now price gouging the US taxpayer almost exactly as hard as the Russians used to. Yeah, when the best defense of SpaceX is they don't price gouge the US taxpayer as hard as the Russians used to, or saying that, well, at least they're better than Boeing, this isn't the win you think it is. Also, while we're back in 2017,
especially because Boeing is has the worst PR now.
That was the year that Musk announced that they were going to be landing on Mars next year, which never happened. Or that Smart Summer was going to go coast to coast with no controls touched whatsoever.
Like, wow, you're better than Boeing. So is pretty much any company that hasn't destroyed their own name within the eye of the American public over the past 2 years.
Which by 2024 had progressed to the point where it was disabled on cars because it couldn't be trusted to get across a car lot. It was the year that Musk announced he had approval for a DC Baltimore Hyperloop, which you'll be shocked to find out was complete vaporware. Or that there would be solar-powered mega trucks that would call emergency services when the driver was sick. An ultra-performance mega sports car, where the battery would have been bigger than the car itself. And surprisingly, these things have never been delivered on.
I have considered just driving around one big battery.
Going to launch Commercial Crew next year.
And then next year, obviously launching.
I'm going to turn Thunderfoot up a bit.
The first American astronaut crew since the shuttle retired in a U.S. vehicle. Shuttle's last flight was, what was that, like 2011? Yeah, 6 years ago. So next year, it'll be 7 years, a 7-year gap since the United States was able to put astronauts into orbit with a US vehicle.
So I have to ask Elon something. Which is still more reusable to this day? Starship or the space shuttle? Because I can guarantee you the space shuttle has brought way more crews to the moon and just to other points in space. Key points. They brought the Canadarm there. Elon Musk brought the Pez dispenser up there, and we still don't know if that's going to work. So I'm pretty sure that Starlink will be finished being rolled out by the time he even gets his Pez dispenser to work. So that will be interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, and this was basically Musk announcing that it was going to be a year late. It was meant to be launching in 2017. And you'll be shocked to find out it didn't launch in 2018 either, or 2019, but only towards the end of 2020. On the completely new, revolutionary technology of a rocket. You know, almost exactly the same mission that things like Gemini were flying some 50 years ago.
Wow, interesting. That looks a lot like Starship, doesn't it? Sure, it doesn't have the wings, but it's like roughly the same size. I'm just saying that, like, we think that there's a lot of innovation in Starship. I don't actually think that there is. I actually think that suborbital launches, where a plane carries stuff up to the limits of the atmosphere and then you take off from there, shows way more potential for innovation than just trying to launch a vertical stick into space. Like, it's cool, don't get me wrong, like, I'm very nerdy that way, I love it, but like, you can only launch a stick into space so many ways. I'm sorry.
27 seconds after the hour.
But what's maybe funnier is Musk thinks that launching men into orbit on a rocket will be a iconic moment in spaceflight for some reason. No, everyone's going to stop what they're doing and watch SpaceX.
And that's going to be, I mean, that's going to be super next level. Like, all of Earth will be tuned in for that launch.
Okay, so this is where I have to kind of come clean. I am not watching to see Starship succeed. Okay, and I'm sorry to the hardworking engineers and launch coordinators and all those people who do have like a stake in this. Like, I don't want them to fail, to be clear. I just want to see Elon's rocket go boom. I want to see his rocket go boom. So like I said, like, if these engineers were on another project, they'd probably be just as good, even better, because they're not working for Elon. So just to be super clear, this is not animosity towards the project itself. It's animosity towards Elon and his goddamn pipe dreams that are going to absolutely destroy people's careers once SpaceX goes bankrupt, and all these other space companies already have all the rocket scientists they need.
Like, basically, Earth, more than 1 billion people watch that launch.
Yeah, Musk thought his rocket launch was going to get twice as many people watching as the moon landings. I'm going to have to push X to doubt pretty hard on that one. Maybe something to do with the fact that Russia and the Americans have been doing this sort of thing for at least the last 50 years on a semi-regular basis. Another private company doing it with a few $1 billion of taxpayer money was unlikely to be a earth-shattering moment in mankind's history. Anyways, in 2022, Tim Dodd announced that he was gullible enough to believe Elon Musk.
So I can see an alternate reality where I am that gullible, where I really do believe that SpaceX is going to be like the first gonna have like the next moon landing or whatever, and like I'm being like this guy, although I probably wouldn't be cut out for an astronaut, but I definitely, like, it's not a huge leap of imagination to take who I am today, where I'm very critical of things like capitalism as it is, and then so therefore Elon Musk saying he's a fake engineer, just too much for me. Whereas like maybe I was pro-capitalist, maybe I didn't have a mentor who's an engineer to kind of give me perspective on these things, then, you know, I probably would buy some of his shit just because, you know, it's fun to go to space. I'm not a huge like space nerd. I don't know everything about launching a rocket. I'm more within the earth sciences, but like, damn, like setting off that much propellant is just fun. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised to meet like an alternate version of me that's into SpaceX. It's not that unrealistic, but holy crap, Elon has a way of just making me like, I can't stand any of it. I can't stand Tesla. I can't stand Starlink. Even when I see them in the sky, it just ruins it for me, knowing that that's like an Elon Musk project. He's tainted everything, at least for people like me. Maybe not for Musk fans, but for people like me.
Musk's promised that he was going to be flying around the moon. And if you look for that video now, you'll find that it's private, and all that's left is a smell of anger and shame.
3, everyone say, Tim's going to the moon. Tim's going to the moon. Because I'm literally a crew member of the moon.
Way to sell it, Todd. That was almost convincing. Oh my god, they actually believe this is happening? What a bunch of morons. Holy crap, does he actually believe this is gonna happen?
I'm going to the moon. Like, literally, I'm going to go to the moon.
I'll be the biggest fan you'll ever lose. Sincerely yours, Stan. P.S. We should be together too.
And
that
is absolutely
is
as
brutal.
ridiculous as it sounds, but I'm literally going to fly around the moon. And I genuinely still can't believe it. Like, it still hasn't even sunk in yet.
We have a moron.
I've known for quite a while, but I've been chosen as one of the crew members for the Dear Moon mission.
Meet Dim Todd. He's a rocket expert.
Now, there are plenty of tards out there living really kick-ass lives. My first wife was tarded. She's a pilot now.
Oh, sorry, I seem to have got the clips a little mixed up there.
And I teach rocket science on YouTube. I used to be a professional photographer.
But for a rocket expert, he sure believes in a lot of stupid things about rockets. Like shouting, I'm going to be on that thing, while pointing at an out-of-control rocket that if he were on it, he would be literally a minute away from death. Now, that's dedication.
This is the future that I have been waiting for. Oh, wait!
By the way, chat, if you see my mouth open while I'm muted, I'm just laughing. Like, the constant references to Stan is so funny.
It's still moving. Oh my gosh.
No, wait.
Oh.
Look up, look up. Oh, that looks like it's going down.
You know what? That was the flip.
Why?
That was a full cartwheel.
Yeah, some people take their hero worship more seriously than others. You see, in 2017, that's what, 7
It
years
should
ago
be
now,
tragic, but,
SpaceX
like,
was
it's-
going to send someone around the moon.
Somehow he's
within
so
a
good at making
year.
me laugh instead.
Maybe a year and 3 months on Falcon Heavy. Sounds kind of familiar. However, within a year, SpaceX had made the amazing progress from saying it was going to fly someone around the moon within a year to saying it wasn't going to human rate the Falcon Heavy, but was instead going to make a new rocket to fly people around the moon within 5 years. And 5 years came and went, and the rocket evolved from something where literally everything failed on it, including the system designed to blow up the rocket if something went wrong, to blowing up without the system designed to blow up the rocket if something went wrong, even needing to be triggered, to finally spinning out of control on a suborbital trajectory, before entering the atmosphere backwards and burning up. And the rocket evolved from something that was going to take 100 tons to low Earth orbit to something that couldn't even make it to orbit with literally zero cargo. And finally, very recently, they had their 4th mission, which you might call a partial success in that the booster didn't blow up and successfully made a soft landing in the ocean where it wasn't recovered. And the upper stage melted and did actually also make a soft landing, all while taking 0 tons to orbit. But to call this a success, you would kind of have to ignore the fact that Musk had taken a contract to actually fly people around the moon last year, about 2 years ago.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't realize what was happening in IFT-4, that was molten metal on one of the flippity flappies on the Starship. And of course, like, heat tiles can fail and stuff like that, and they did still seem to be functional so long as they kept the footage up. But at the end of the day, that's a failure mode. That is we cannot fly again until we can prevent that sort of thing. And I just want to stress the fact that Starship is supposed to be rapidly reusable. Rapidly reusable. I genuinely don't think it ever will be. He's going to have to scrap the entire thing and start again before that's even possible.
The moon mission announced that it was going to be sending artists around the moon.
Painter, photographer, musician, film director, fashion designer. The distance to the moon is 200.
Oh man, I wish I knew classical music better, because then I can be like, oh yeah, you're extra artsy when you pick, Bach's number 8 or whatever. Like it's almost unoriginal to play this song while you're talking about bringing artists or musicians anywhere that will inspire them. It's like, oh my God, it's so profound, so inspiring, so mystical. Like, has no one ever made a song yet that like replaces that? I'm just kidding. I know they have, but this is how unoriginal these things are. And yet it's supposed to look so appealing, so new. Like nothing you've ever seen before. And I really just don't think Elon knows what has been done before.
40,000 miles.
And even while empty, Starship runs out of fuel at about 200 kilometers. So that's just a little bit short of going around the moon, let alone having enough fuel to actually land when you come back to Earth. Basically, when they announced this Starship flight, the plans were so half-baked that they were just making up the numbers. Now, you might remember that they cancelled the first Dear Moon mission because the Falcon Heavy wasn't going to be human-rated. Spoiler, Starship can't be human-rated, in that if anything goes wrong with it, everyone on board will die. Which, as we'll come to later, would probably be a mercy. And during all of this, I was getting real Mars One vibes as the lemmings queued up.
A human colony on Mars may sound like science fiction, but it might not be that far-fetched.
I will tell you how we will go to Mars, and I will tell you where we are in the timeline of this mission.
Elon Musk. This one had Nobel Prize winners involved with it.
This is really something that can be achieved. I think this might become a most spectacular media event ever.
Mars One, a Dutch non-profit foundation which plans to send humans on a one-way trip to Mars, announced Monday that it has chosen 100 finalists from a field of 200 applicants based on online interviews. Mars One plans to launch in 2024. The first 4 people would start the colony on Mars, and if all goes well, Mars One plans to send groups of 4 every 2 years.
Yeah, that's definitely happening too, right? They're on their way right now, so that makes sense.
Candidates also come from a wide range of backgrounds like science,
I'm kidding,
art,
they're
and
not
education.
on their way right now.
Photographer, musician, film director, fashion designer.
My name is Tim Dodd. I'm from the United States, and I've been chosen as a crew member for Dear Moon.
Meet Mead McCormick. She's a filmmaker in Los Angeles.
I almost feel bad for Elon Musk, because most of us, we grow up, someone asks you, like, how long you're going to be, you think like, oh yeah, easily get it done in 5 minutes, and then it takes you 20, and then you really like let someone down. Like they're not going to trust you next time, right? And so you learn to overestimate. You learn to say like, oh well, I think we can do it in 5 years, so let's say I'm going to do it in 20. Just because you never really know what can go wrong at the end of the day. It's Moore's law, right? Anything that can go wrong will. Hint, hint, Elon, your spaceships are kind of like that. So I don't understand. Well, no, I guess I do. There's obviously a perverse incentive for Elon to make these dates as short as possible, generate as much hype as possible, seem like he's like changing anything when at like the biggest failure, the most objective failure that is not debatable, is that he is missing all of these timelines. All of them. He cannot project an accurate timeline for the life of him. And I feel bad for any of the investors who still think he can. How do you think that? How is your reality testing so goddamn miscalibrated?
And one of the top 100 finalists for the Mars 1 mission.
There's a lot of video things that I want to do that can help share the experience with the general public.
But I'm asking for an opportunity to tell the story of Dear Moon from a first-person perspective. I've always looked up to space. As a young child, I wanted to become an astronaut.
Everybody thought that the idea was crazy, and I sincerely did not think that it was a crazy idea.
My soul is begging for this. It needs this.
And of course, the Mars 1 crashed and burned spectacularly, achieving nothing. Yeah, taking gazillions of dollars of supporters' money with it. And if you're thinking, well, SpaceX is a reputable space company, they're going to do much better. Really, the space company that thought their rocket was just going to fly around the moon, only to work out while carrying zero cargo that it runs out of fuel in low Earth orbit. Well, that's just for starters. Then just miraculously popping solar panels out of nowhere.
The crew will spend a week in space.
Yeah, it's the great thing about vaporware is you're just really not constrained by the laws of physics.
What will they feel when they see the moon? When they see Earth in full view?
And just to show how half-assed all of this is, that's the view you would get if you were coming over the North Pole of the moon. You know that because you can see the North Pole on the Earth. But that's not the way you would orbit the moon in the Dear Moon mission. You would be on an east-west or west-east type trajectory. So the moonrise would look like this, not like this. You know, it's not just the whole mission plan was half-assed.
It just shows that there was no mission planning before this. It was literally like Elon probably drew some shit on a napkin, right? And then he paid some graphic artist to turn it into something that isn't just a drawing on a napkin, because he has the money to do that, and it probably is just like habit for him at this point. And then SpaceX is like, oh yeah, and maybe not just SpaceX, but definitely Elon. Was like, oh yeah, we can make a whole PR thing out of this before we even actually know if this is gonna freaking work. And that's just my biggest problem with Elon, is he doesn't understand that things can fail, especially with technology. The more you innovate, the more you risk failure. That is one of the hardest things about innovation, is that it's usually multiple failures and then a success. And it might sound like I'm like making excuses for Elon here, but no, trust me, I am not. Elon is not very good at what he does. He does not plan for failure. That much is very clear. He just expects that if there's a failure, I can pay my way out of it. But guess what that does? That impacts your timeline.
The computer graphics to go with it were as well. Now it turns out the eccentric billionaire who was financing the Dear Moon mission has given up on it completely.
Also, sorry that I keep telling myself I'm going to respond to chat and then forgetting. So, good morning, Phil. Good morning, Avius. Good morning, everybody who's here at this ungodly hour. We're going to quickly check back right now, actually, to make sure there isn't an updated launch time. And I keep forgetting to talk into my mic as well, because I feel like I'm pausing too much and I'm losing track of time. So here's another channel actually that I like. Let's make sure they're live. Oh, we got someone talking on stream. Yeah, we're still an hour away, so excuse me. We're not doing anything too bad by pausing all the time. I think that one Thunderfoot video will be enough to help us kind of understand why I'm doom watching more than anything. So, wrong button.
Which begs the question, if SpaceX has been ditched merely for a contract to fly around the moon, how far away are they from actually landing on it, as they were meant to be doing about 3 months ago now? This is the Gantt chart that accompanied SpaceX's proposal for the human landing system, basically the thing that takes people from lunar orbit and lands them on the moon, for which they got some
Wait, why have I lost my window? I'm in the right scene. This is so weird. Okay. I literally just switched it to a different source and it just worked. OBS, why you gotta be weird like that? I don't understand you sometimes.
$3 billion of taxpayer money. You know, of all the complicated stuff that you can do in space, flying around the moon is one of the simplest ones. It's Apollo era stuff, specifically Apollo 8. You literally just go up and come down again. Except you've got to time it for when the moon is there. So timing matters, and you only spend about an hour or so around the moon, half of which you're looking at the unlit portion of the moon. And then you're on your way back. Now, when Apollo was doing this, it was actually a fairly ballsy thing, because the maths had to mostly be done by hand.
We here on the ground have done all we can in the way of computations. It's up to the crew now. They're on their own.
Maybe a reminder of the
I've never
advanced
used the
computer
slide rule,
graphics they
and I
had
just want to say,
access to
I never
back
want to
then.
have to.
That will place his spacecraft exactly in the same orbit with Gemini 7.
And if you screwed it up, you would very quickly get to the point where there was no way that the human...
I just have to point out, and I know that this is totally random and tangential, but I love the American accent sometimes, especially like the old, where they'd call like Gemini, like Jiminy. Like I half expected him to say when it meets up with Jiminy Cricket. It's so silly, but it's kind of funny. It's also the audio quality, but that was mostly the way he pronounced it.
would get back alive. There was some real skin in the game on these things. Now with modern computers and over 50 years experience, not so tense. But Dear Moon is basically Apollo 8. Thing is, Starship at this moment isn't even at Apollo 4. Apollo 4, which successfully tested the heavy launch vehicle, successfully tested the second stage, successfully tested the third stage, successfully tested the command module, successfully refired it, successfully tested the heat shield at orbital re-entry speeds, all on its maiden flight, which was,
they successfully tested the heat shield. So let me just remind you guys, I pointed out the molten metal on IFT-4 earlier. That was not a successful heat shield test. We still have yet to even reach Apollo 4 with Starship. So, and remember what I said before, right? Like NASA sometimes doesn't have successful launches, but they eventually do have success. Elon is just taking so much longer to get the same amount of steps because I don't think he understands the importance of like really double checking things. Like when you look at the Apollo 13 guidance computer, it's a beautiful channel online. This man goes by the name of Curious Mark, and he restored this entire thing, the Apollo guidance computer. Like when you learn about what they had to do just to you know, put it together and test it again and test it again, they made like 50 of these things. And it's, I think that like that's I think I'm being conservative with that estimate also. So like they don't fuck around. Like sure, that's expensive and sure that's time costly, but at the end of the day, the more errors you can find and the more things that you can rule out as a possible issue, the more successful your program's going to be. It's Like, that part is not rocket science.
Somewhat before Elon Musk was even born. Starship Test 1 failed to make a suborbital trajectory and blew up. Starship 2 failed to make an even shorter suborbital trajectory and blew up twice. Starship Test 3 managed to successfully inject an out-of-control upper stage into a suborbital trajectory before the lower stage blew up and the upper stage re-entered the atmosphere in an uncontrolled fashion and burned up. Starship 4. Well, that was the first one with elements of success. I mean, we're not talking like, the successes you could have in 1967 or anything, in that the booster didn't blow up before it made a soft landing in the ocean, and the upper stage partially melted before also making a soft landing. And while all the SpaceX fans were dancing a happy jig about this, even the most optimistic appraisal of their progress means they haven't even gotten to the first goal on this Gantt chart, and honestly might be dead in the water in more than a literal sense. You see, Musk already says that Starship can only take possibly some 50 tons to low Earth orbit.
We're aiming for, currently Flight 3 would be around 40 or 50 tons to orbit.
Then given Musk's propensity for overstatement, it's probably nowhere near that. In that the only times we've actually seen it inside, it's completely devoid of cargo. Thus far, Starship has only ever launched an empty tube into space. And basically, if the heat shield you have to add to make this thing survive
And
re-entry
this is going to be yet
outstrips the
another
weight of
empty
your
tube.
cargo to low Earth orbit, congrats, you've made a pointless vehicle. But even with Musk's optimistic appraisal of 50 tons, well, with the originally stated 100-ton cargo to low Earth orbit, the Government Accountability Office reckoned you would need the best part of 20 refueling flights for a lunar mission. So with 50 tons, it would be near 40. And with an even lesser cargo than that, it'll be many more. So fine, Musk says they're going to redesign the rocket.
Did he just say 20 refueling flights? 20. Holy damn. Starship better be rapidly reusable if they're going to ever make that work. Because I don't even think the Falcon program could do that. So, either you're going to have them like up there for a very long time waiting to actually get to the moon or back, or this just isn't going to work.
Rocket to make it bigger.
So the current design, Starship 2 will be over 100 tons, and then Starship 3 will be over 200 tons.
With Starship version 2 and 3, which appear nowhere on this Gantt chart whatsoever. But fine, you redesign it to make it slightly longer. One can't help think that if they could solve problems like this some 50 years ago with slide rules, why did SpaceX have to blow up or melt some 4 rockets to figure this out? And having not even achieved Apollo 4, and now they've just had their Apollo 8 moment cancelled, because they are comically far from making this happen. Look, I said way back in one of my SpaceX Busted videos that Starship is basically a larger version of the shuttle with a more sensible stacking arrangement. And I'm not so sure I fancy the chances of those spindly little flaps for actually surviving re-entry.
Camera view is looking right at one of the forward flaps. And we're strategically putting...
Yeah, goddamn. Like, I know that there are engineers behind this, and I don't want to discredit the work that they've done to make this possible. But, like, you're talking about a hinge. Like, there's going to be some... Like, it's almost impossible to make a smooth transition between a hinge and a surface. You can do it, but that usually, like, takes up a lot of, like, your... what I call an engineering budget, which is... you can only engineer something so much before you start taking away from other systems. And this is where I think Starship just can't win, because especially with these moving flaps, you have way too much air friction. You just it's a point where the turbulent airflow will just always be super high. Maybe they can redesign it. Like, I can already picture some ways in my head where you extend kind of like the flap design so that way it covers the body more and stuff like that. But as soon as you move those wings, any laminar flow, which is the nice streamlined flow that doesn't cause a lot of heat and friction, gets disrupted. You can't do that without disrupting that airflow. The whole point of the fins on the space shuttle was that they didn't really move. They had elevators and a tail rudders, but they didn't have, or I should call them rear stabilizers, really. But it wasn't meant to make it fly in all sorts of directions or help it turn and stuff or roll and stuff like that, like it seems to be with Starship. It was there to keep it flying in a straight line. It was there to keep laminar flow around the body to minimize the amount of friction you get from heat. The more Starship has to use these fins to control itself, the more friction and heat it's going to generate, and the more it's pushing these heat tolerances of the tiles and all of the structures underneath.
Some cameras around the vehicle.
Which means Musk will shortly have another great idea of maybe some fixed plate type heat shield.
I called it.
Brilliant new idea.
It's been a while since I've seen this. I don't remember everything that he talks about, by the way.
Put an undercarriage on this and maybe land it on a runway or something. Then we wouldn't have to worry about reigniting the engines. And we could vent all of the tanks such that if we land, there is no chance of an explosion. And you will say, hey look, this is just simple and it works. And it's way more profound than people think it is. And the Elon Musk fans will be like... At which point, they will have the same problem as the shuttle, but on steroids. You see, if the heat tiles come off, you lose the vehicle, and the space shuttle, the underlying frame was relatively flexible compared to the delicate, fragile, and inflexible heat tiles, which is why the shuttle got the nickname of the Flying Brickyard. And if you thought the underlying frame of the shuttle was flexible, this thing is a giant floppy tube, which has apparently one span across it to try and stiffen up the tube. Hey, here's an idea. Why not move that stiffening brace to the bottom of the tube and make it into a sort of wing-type structure? So basically, between flights, they will have to re-inspect the heat shield every time, just like they did with the shuttle. And this alone kills the rapid reuse thing. Or you can just skip the inspections and lose a vehicle every time a tile or so falls off, killing the economics of reusability. And that's assuming there is actually any financial benefit to this reuse.
So chat, I promise you, when I was saying that earlier, I did not know that Thunderfoot was going to say this. I realize a lot of these things just from basic deduction. And it's just so validating to hear Thunderfoot say it now.
Usability at all. Incidentally, I'd always assumed that the interior of a Starship would be pressurized. Basically use gas pressure to rigidify the vehicle. Right, I don't know if this will work, so let's pressurize it. Yeah. There you go. So it's now actually hard to push because it's pressurized, and if I take the pressure off, which is done like this, right, that's soft to push. Yeah. Now it all goes on the pressure differential, of course, so, having a vacuum outside and even a partial pressure inside will give you a lot of structural rigidity on a can like this. But that, of course, would mean that you would have to do a good enough job in welding all this together that it would be airtight. And it looks like SpaceX didn't have the faith that they could do this, so they actually had giant holes in the vehicle to let the air out. Incidentally, if it did vent all of the atmosphere out fairly slowly whilst in space, then re-entered the atmosphere, such that it's a vacuum on the inside of the can and atmospheric pressure on the outside, this wouldn't go so well either. Sweet, so it's now hooked up to the vacuum system, and as you can see, there is 1 atmosphere of pressure in there at the moment. So let's start this up. Oh, wow! I only took 1/10 of an atmosphere out, and look what happened. That's what a reduction of 1/10 of an atmosphere did, even though it took up to 3 bars of pressure. And let's just do this for good measure.
So I will point out that this isn't the best experiment. It's perfectly fine for demonstrating the principles that Thunderfoot is trying to demonstrate, which is how pressure differentials across a structure can both rigidify it or crush it. However, that is an aluminum can. If we were going to say that this is a more accurate simulacra, we would say that needs to be a stainless steel can. I know that that sounds petty, but I think we need to give SpaceX fans as little room to kind of like deny reality as possible.
Oh no, no, that's half an atmosphere of pressure. That's basically all of it. Anyway, looks like they had big holes.
I will say that was a really nice vacuum pump setup, and I'm kind of jealous that he has one like that.
In the side of the Starship to vent all of the air out and let the atmosphere back in when it was re-entering. This means that your Starship now basically has no gas pressure inside of it to rigidify it. So it has to be structurally braced, which of course adds weight. And not having a pressurized interior means this really isn't that suitable for humans. Well, maybe if Dim Todd was happy to wear the exact same spacesuit for a week on the Dear Moon mission. You know, with that supersized diaper. Dim, personal log, stardate, day 4.
20 minutes, we'll see the pilgrim.
White thing passed outside the window today. No one cared. I no longer fear hell after 4 days in the same diaper. I see my emotions reflected in the dead eyes of my crewmates.
Don't do that. No. Come on. Oh, man.
They say that death is certain due to all the tiles that fell off during launch, but somehow it's just lost its sting.
Rate up, adrenaline up, stomach muscle spasming. Overbeck's in distress. Look at these methane levels.
My heart warms that Musk is already preparing to talk to tell how a burning star full of social media influence is a great success for SpaceX.
And congratulations.
Like, that's a cult. That's what a cult looks like. They were told, they're expected to cheer, and you didn't want to be the odd one out who's like, actually, that looked like it failed. So they're all like standing there cheering. And maybe this is more like a techno cult, and Elon's more like a mega church pastor than a typical cult leader. But still, like, this is very cult-like.
Guys, you did that. That's insane. I mean, it looks like CGI. I mean, it's hard to believe that is unfiltered video. That's just the actual what the camera saw. No filters, no nothing. That's actually what the camera saw, which is insane. So, you know, you're doing incredible work that I think almost no one thought would actually happen. So it's wild that this...
Oh, how I love Elon from the bottom of my poop-filled diaper. And I can already see the Musk fans piling up in the comments right now saying, "Ha! Joke's on you! This fantasy is completely unrealistic. Starship will never be human-rated because engine reliability issues and landing reliability issues are... oh yeah, no emergency abort system." Incidentally, 2 weeks of pooping in a diaper is not far off what the early Gemini missions did. You know, because they wanted an endurance mission to show that people could actually survive in space long enough to get to the moon and come back. So they had 2 people sitting in a crazy small Gemini capsule, during which time they came to the conclusion that wearing spacesuits for an extended period of time was completely impractical.
Frank, we're moving right along in this suit situation. I would like to get some more specific comments from you at this time.
Roger, there's no question in our minds the only way to fly these things is without pressure suits.
And they could just about take those pressure suits off in the tiny pressurized Gemini capsule. Something you wouldn't be able to do in an unpressurized cabin. Anyway, so they're going to need to do as many checks on this thing as they did on the shuttle's heat shield. So let's see, before it leaves orbit, let's be super optimistic and say it needs 10 refueling flights at, say, 100 tons apiece. And they're going to launch them at the amazingly fast rate of about 1 per week. That's about 3 times quicker than SpaceX has ever reused a rocket. So that's like 2 months, but whatever. Let's say it's super optimistic and it's only 1 month. So Tim's Typer is going to be fully overloaded before they even leave low Earth orbit. But don't worry, Tim, only a week or so more to go and we'll get you right out of that diaper. You see, SpaceX said it would be building a human landing system, that's this bit in the Apollo era tech, for about $3 billion.
That graphic was way too funny. Just replacing the glass in the helmet with brown swirls.
That's basically what Apollo 11 did. And thus far, they've burnt through 2/3 of the taxpayer cash, and now they've got to the point when they've just had their merely flying around the moon mission cancelled. America's aspirations of relanding people on the moon, which is kind of a dumb goal. You know, human missions typically end up being about 99% about giving the humans enough oxygen to breathe such that they don't die of asphyxiation, or enough water to drink such that they don't die of dehydration, or food to eat such that they don't die of starvation. Well, with food, water, and oxygen being in pretty short supply in space. Rovers doing science merely just need power to do their science. But whatever, there is a romance about people in space. And for this romance, Musk is the manipulative X. He promises everything, if only you will give him one last chance.
So we want to get Mars to be a self-sustaining civilization as quickly as possible. And I think this can be done in around 20 years.
Oh, and boy, are there a lot of easily manipulated, emotionally dependent girlfriends. Musk will be almost solely responsible for the castration of America's
NASA
human
spaceflight.
spaceflight aspirations. And guaranteed, when that happens, his girlfriends will be out there in force, making excuses about how it was all their fault for not believing in him enough. So why will it end up castrating the American human space program? Because he promised the Earth, and gullible saps believed him. They worshipped him. You know, because manipulative X was telling them exactly what they wanted to hear.
In order to build a city on Mars.
Okay, so I feel like it might be a good idea, good time even. You know what, I'm going to do
We'll need
some management here. Going to get rid of all these extra tabs. So I can just control tab between them. So we're going to check on Starship. We still have yet to, I'm just going to point this out, we're not past go/no-go for prop load. So what that means is there will be a certain point where all of the different kind of engineering groups come together and say, everything looks good, let's keep going. Or they say, no, there's too many issues, we're going to have to delay or cancel prop load. So that's a critical point. And then you also see go, no go for launch. And of course, that's the same thing. All those same groups come together and say, we're good for launch, or again, too many issues. Wait, that's not live. It should have been live. Okay, no, sorry. I am super, super sorry. We are past go, no/no-go for prop load. Just to reiterate, we are past go/no-go for prop load. We are into fuel loading and liquid oxygen loading. So it's too dark. Maybe NASA spaceflight actually has a better... Oh, no. Well, anyways, chat, I kind of just messed myself up. So, and I really should not have done that. So we're going to go back to this while I try to fix that behind the scenes.
To be kind of in the million-ton to orbit range. So it's going to end up flying several times a day from many different locations in the world.
What's going on? Feel it in my ears.
And I think there's a pretty good chance that it does Earth-to-Earth transport as well.
I am particularly excited about that capability.
Hello, what's going on?
I can visit. Visit my customers overseas in Dubai, in Riyadh, in London, and get home in time to make dinner.
Oh, what's going on? Rocket, that's what I thought. Oh, it's SpaceX!
Because the fastest way to get from one place to another on Earth is, to get from here to the other side of Earth is an intercontinental ballistic missile. But just make sure you delete the nuke and add the landing part.
In reality, this is comically delusional bullshit, such that you would have to be a complete and utter moron to believe any of this.
Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now.
Time to share our latest Starship supercut. We've taken Elon's 2024 presentation, cut down the repetition and unnecessary bits, and served it up right here as a neat bonus video. There was a load of great stuff in this, so if you missed it, watched only some of it, or just want a fun refresh mixed with wonderful music, you are going to love this.
Is the overall sort of path to making life multiplanetary. Starship is the first design of a rocket that is actually capable of making life multiplanetary. Before this has had the potential to extend life to another planet. Because this is the first time in Earth's 4.5 billion year history that it's been possible to extend life or consciousness beyond Earth. The key thing is that we need enough people and enough tonnage on Mars such that Mars can survive and continue consciousness even if something would happen to Earth.
For too long, humanity has existed within dysfunctional and polluted cities that ignore nature. Now, a revolution in civilization is taking place.
Then on Mars, in the beginning, we would simply reuse the ship materials, so most of the ships wouldn't come back, but then over time, you'd want to bring the ships back so you could reuse them.
Just right off the bat, I'm actually going to go back to this. You wouldn't see starships landing next to each other. Do you realize how big the plumes would be? They would knock each other off of balance. Like, again, I don't know who came up with this actual concept art, but at the end of the day, these people do not understand how these things work at all. And that's just it's just funny to me that yep, it's definitely not going to look like that. It might look like something someday, but not that. This is going to be what people in 50 years, once we do get to Mars, point at and laugh at. This is what we thought it was going to look like. Oh my God. We're so silly.
I think we would simply reuse the ship materials, so most of the ships wouldn't come back, but then over time you'd want to bring the ships back so you could reuse them.
Imagine a traditional city and consolidating its footprint.
What if we removed cars? What if we got rid of streets? What if we
Yeah, funnily enough, NEOM, the concept of like the city that's a line would make more sense because you're not spreading everything out and making like these complex structures that have to be like self-standing. Everything is embedded. And so the structure itself could be maintained by the various modules. I'm not saying that NEOM makes sense here on Earth, but if you were to build a city on Mars, you'd probably want it to be as embedded as possible.
innovated in the public space.
Designing to protect and enhance nature. The line will be home to 9 million residents.
Mining in general, ice mining, propellant production, long duration life support.
Energy and water supplies are 100% renewable. The line is designed as a series of unique communities, offering a wealth of amenities. And we are designing it to provide a healthier, more sustainable quality of life. The line's communities are organized in 3 dimensions.
While it sounds like something out of a science fiction novel, the Saudi Arabian government is determined to have this city become a reality by the year 2025.
For a self-sustaining city is about 1 million and several million tons of cargo, which we can do, and we can do this in 20 years.
Yes, we're going to Mars. Going even beyond Mars, we'll go to Ceres, we'll go to the moons of Jupiter, and sort of, planet and moon hop all the way out of the solar system.
Look, NEOM was a comically stupid idea to build a linear modern city in the desert. And it recently got scaled back from being 100 miles long to being like 1 mile long. That is, the line became the dot. The mere cost for building a city in the desert was over $1 trillion. And Musk wants to do the exact same thing, build a city for 1 million people, but not in the desert, but on Mars. And when they go to Mars, this is all going to ramp up by orders of magnitude.
You couldn't have said it better, Kate. And the moon is just the proving ground. It's just the start. When the time comes to make the leap to Mars, everything ramps up by orders of magnitude.
Really? With whose money? All of this was only thus far possible because of government cash. And newsflash, the government is not going to give SpaceX a budget of $1 trillion for basically nothing. If you can't build a city in the desert for that sort of cash, why on earth would you believe a bullshit merchant who says he's going to build that exact same city but on Mars?
But have we considered that Elon will be
Wednesday
that rich?
He's hoping to land one of his capsules on the surface of Mars in May of 2018.
That's not that far away. No. Big announcement that he's got set for next month, I believe. The Red Dragon spacecraft to go unmanned to Mars also in 2018.
Spoiler, SpaceX has never made anything that has left low Earth orbit, let alone made it to Mars.
And we're going to try to send something to Mars on every Mars rendezvous from here on out. So Dragon 2, which is a propulsive lander, we plan to send to Mars in a couple years, and then do probably another Dragon mission in 2020. In fact, we want to establish a steady cadence that there's always a flight leaving, like a train leaving the station. With every Mars rendezvous,
why not say Falcon Super Heavy? Like, Dragon is for carrying people, if I recall correctly. So why are you sending stuff to Mars that's just ridiculous.
we will be sending at least a Dragon to Mars. So then in 2024, we want to try to fly 4 ships, 2 of which would be crewed, and 2 of which two cargo and two crew.
Meanwhile, in 2024, they were having their mission to merely fly around the moon cancelled.
The goal of the of these initial missions is to find the best source of water. That's for the first mission. And then the second mission, the goal is to build the propellant plant.
And the person who created an entire rocket company in less than 10 years will get us to Mars by 2027.
In 2017, when Elon first proposed this huge undertaking, his goal was to get the first boots on the ground on Mars by 2022. Since then, Elon has pulled back to a more realistic 2024 deadline to reach the red planet.
Wow, all right, so Musk said that SpaceX's long-term goal is to colonize
Relatively
Mars
realistic.
by the 2020s.
Maybe not more realistic.
This is utterly delusional stuff to the point where it makes the Hyperloop seem like a sane and well thought out idea. You know, for those who
it really
don't know,
does.
SpaceX had a competition outside SpaceX headquarters where Musk talked in front of a SpaceX Hyperloop tube made by SpaceX engineers.
But it's really not that hard.
It still sounds pretty complicated, Elon.
It's like a tube with an air hockey table. It's really, I swear, it's not that hard.
Meanwhile, the Musk fan club is convinced that the guy who can't even build a 1 kilometer long Hyperloop is
That
going to
lady
take
was smarter than
humanity
Elon.
to the entire solar system.
And then once we go beyond Mars, there's some asteroids like Ceres, some of the moons of Jupiter. Starship would ultimately be capable of reaching anywhere in the solar system.
Oh no, forget the 1 kilometer one outside SpaceX headquarters. He was going to build one from DC to Baltimore. Sorry, what's that? That never happened either? Huh. If only there was some sort of explanation for all of this.
I'm a con-man, or maybe I'm a god, zooming around the planet in my hyperlooping pod.
But hell,
Wait, what the
let's
hell is
just
that
say they
from?
can get to the moon, where the space cadets think that it's going.
Hold on. Hold on. There's a puppet parody of Elon Musk? I'm gonna find this, and as soon as I do, I'm streaming it. We're streaming a react because that is beautiful. I can't find it right now, but when I do, believe me, we will watch it.
But hell, let's just say they can get to the moon, where the space cadets think that it's going to be like this.
Moon's low gravity. These efforts are ensuring that the suit is ready for extensive scientific research during the first mission to the lunar South Pole.
Really, the extensive scientific research of hitting a rock with a hammer. I mean, what exact scientific research do you think they're going to do on the moon that actually requires a human to be there? I mean, the tears of delusionality here. I mean, let's just give Musk that he can get a human to Mars for a few $100,000.
And if we can get the cost of moving to Mars to be roughly equivalent to a median house price in the US, which is around $200,000.
Tough call, seeing as they currently charge about 100 times that amount to merely go to low Earth orbit. But fine, whatever. Bus ticket to go to Mars is going to be a few $100,000. What's the price of transporting someone's home to live there? You know, if the construction price of a house on Earth.
Why
is a
does
few
this guy run
$100,000,
sorry for yelling. Why does this guy run companies at all?
And for complete
why?
perspective, remember how I said
He's
human
incompetent.
missions were 99% about just keeping the people alive? NEOM didn't have to worry about any of that. The air, the water, and the food were essentially free. And they didn't have to poop in diapers the whole time. And it was still too expensive. And SpaceX say with a straight face that they're going to do that exact same thing on Mars, which will be likely 1,000,000 times more expensive. Look, Musk's rocket can't even make orbit at the moment, let alone take cargo to orbit, let alone do anything with that cargo. He has zero chance of getting anything to Mars, let alone building a city there. Hell, forget Mars. Musk couldn't build a city here on Earth. What on earth makes you think that he could do it on Mars? Nah, Musk's problems are a little more down to earth. You know,
That
like
had to
getting
be the best
sued
use
for
of what on
insider
earth I've
trading
ever
and
heard.
being investigated by the Securities Exchange Commission over a full self-driving they claimed worked better than a human in 2016. And is currently getting sued in California, where it's alleged that Tesla vehicles could not at the time of those advertisements and cannot now operate as autonomous vehicles. Oh, and sure, the guy who can't make a functioning windscreen wiper.
At this point, I think I know more about manufacturing than anyone currently alive on Earth.
On their best product ever.
Okay. That line really triggers me. He's not a material scientist. He's not an engineer. He's not a control system dynamics or a processing control and dynamics expert. He's none of these things. He might know a lot about prototyping, but I mean, it's clearly like the other people running Tesla who keep the Model Ts, I think it's called, and the Roadsters on the road. Did they call it the Model T, or am I thinking of something else? Anyways, like, I can't handle it when he says that. He's just lying. He's just lying. That's all it is. And just to say, like, he knows more than anybody else. Like, he's met everybody, right? So
the Cybertruck
can't possibly be wrong there.
I think it's our best product.
Yeah, sure. That guy is going to be landing people on Mars in the next 6 months. And if you've gotten this far and you're thinking, holy crap, it's exhausting keeping up with this guy's bullshit. Believe me, it hurts making videos where everyone from space cadets to NASA believe in obvious bullshit merchant. Look, being a scientist, I'm a pretty big supporter of science, but putting men on the moon or Mars is just a needlessly expensive and dangerous way of doing science. But for those for whom this is an emotional argument, I'll put it in terms you can understand. SpaceX just lost America the moon, and all it cost was the best part of $5 billion of taxpayer money.
Scale that no company has ever achieved in the history of humanity.
And that is a very on-point video from Thunderfoot. Like, if you're a SpaceX fan, just tell me where the lie is, please. Like, maybe you don't like the memes he chose. Maybe you don't think some of the conclusions he makes are totally going to work out that way. But there's no way that after seeing this, you think that Elon Musk is competent. I'm sorry, but if you think that after seeing this, you're not a very good judge of these things. I certainly wouldn't take your opinion for it. So, all I'm going to say is, you might want to find a new little cult leader to follow, because this is not aging well. So that was our kind of preamble to the launch, pre-context for what I see happening. We are now going to listen to some NASA spaceflight commentary as we wait for the launch. Where are they doing audio? Check. Let's just check that I actually have audio. Oh, I know what's going on. Technical difficulty.
Very dense. The reason it falls so quickly is because it's very dense, right?
It's
not
about that. So
that multiple times, and it's very similar to these two vents. They vent gaseous oxygen through that as they condition those lines.
It looks to me like you could put Han Solo in the middle of the OLM there, and he'd come out a block of carbonite or something. Gotta make hissing noises and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And I did say, I saw some people talking, it's not just a vapor. Like, that is very dense. The reason it falls so quickly is because it's very dense, right? It's not liquid spewing straight out, but it's not like a wafty sort of vapor, right?
Yep.
And
that's still a vapor.
They cool this down out of two reasons. A, because you protect the material itself.
Yeah.
Because cryo cooling something without warning tends to
shock it, surprise it.
And there's a second part of this, because also if you have warm pipes and you flow super cooled liquid oxygen through it, that expands quite rapidly. Because
have like ice cubes in your fridge. Have you ever made ice cubes in your freezer, I guess, and then you take it out and they start to crack? and you make the change of temperature, like the ice goes from being in your freezer to outside, and they start popping and cracking. The same sort of thing, except you don't want your rocket parts to do that. You don't want your pipes to do that. Right?
Regularly, it shouldn't crack.
You want to thermally sort of regulate it. You want to condition it and slowly change the temperature. But speaking of cool things, one of the coolest thing here is the fact that y'all keep supporting what we do. Like, we're not a huge company. I know a lot of people are like, oh, NSF, oh, they sell stuff on their stream. Geez. Like, we're not a huge company. We don't have a ton of, like, money behind us or anything like that. So we do things like this to try and show you cool patches.
Their production value is way too fucking high for them to need to, like, e-beg like this. Like, just plug your shit, dude. Like, this is pathetic. Like, we don't make that much money. Please, don't. You're not just buying things from the NSF store. You're helping us live. It's like, dude, if that's the case, then, like, put, like, half the budget into your production quality. Nobody needs it that much. You're just trying to look as good as SpaceX. And, like, you have a reliable customer base. If you could easily change your production quality and people will still buy stuff. But they need all of these macro shots that they probably paid a photographer over $100 an hour to do. And it's just... It's almost like this company is run like SpaceX. And by the way, when SpaceX fails, those patches are going to become ironic as hell. Actually, with that in mind, I kind of want one.
And then telling us what to say. You may have noticed that we sort of say whatever we want to say here on the stream. Hopefully that's why people want to hang out with us, because we tell you our honest opinions about stuff. But thank y'all for the support and everything we do. Super Chat's coming in. There's Catch a Tea with the Super Chat for $1.99. Any way that it works, just thank y'all for all the support so we can keep showing up and sharing this with you. More of an update while I was waxing poetic about patches, Alex.
Look at that. That activity
Look at that.
is good, both on the left and the right. You see those sort of, inclined vents, as I called them before.
That's
It
fine.
kind of gets the point across, right?
Angled
That's
vents,
the
yeah.
main thing. So coolers, they are going off. We see that very much when they are starting to load fuel onto the ship. So, and also the tower vent has completely gone out of the tower, which is an indication of LOX load, of liquid oxygen load onto the ship. So,
And the first traces of dawn in the background here too, Alex. Look at the sun starting to light up the sky. Come on, sun. Like, the more light, the better the cameras look.
And
exactly.
Just to point out, based on the timeline, we are 47 minutes away, and the flight takes less than 30 minutes to landing. So that
is going to be insanity.
Yep. Like,
I gotta remember to keep this live.
Even if they don't pull it off, even if they...
It'll still be insanity.
Even if they, I don't know, if they get all the way and then the last minute, I don't know, something goes wrong and they miss it just by a bit. It's still insanity. It's this company has... I mean, that's why we love to watch them. Like, they love insanity.
I like it in chat.
For better or for worse.
Chat needs to say believe. Everybody should believe.
You enhance.
Right.
But no, okay, there's the cult. There's the cultiness. There's the cultiness. You gotta have faith, bro. You gotta have faith in Elon. Don't use critical thinking skills. That's for chumps. You gotta have faith that Elon can do it, because otherwise people won't give us as many super chats. And I said that the cult was centered around Elon. But let me just point out, like, he has a lot. I think that these are the real cult leaders. These are the people who actually incite a lack of critical thinking skills. And they definitely ban anybody from their chat, because I've checked, who's critically minded and says, like, that's not going to work or that's unreasonable. And if you don't get freaking harassed by the chatters, you will certainly get banned for just having too good of points.
But this is a legitimate place to hang out. So how are we looking? We got confirmation, Alex, while I'm over here yammering. What do we get confirmation of?
We got confirmation from SpaceX that indeed ship propellant load has started. So propellant load has started on Starship. And you know what? We should probably figure out what else we're going to be seeing here in the next few minutes, counting down to liftoff.
At T-minus 1 hour and 15 minutes, with the tank farm conditioned and the propellant transfer lines being prepared for propellant load, SpaceX's flight director will poll operators whether to go ahead with the propellant load sequence. This propellant load sequence will be very similar to the previous 2 flights, with the ship being loaded first, followed by the Super Heavy booster. Also for each vehicle, methane load will begin first and will be followed by liquid oxygen load a few minutes later. The timing of these events, while largely similar, has been tweaked a bit for Flight 5 compared to Flight 4. The ship's fuel load will now start at T-minus 49 minutes and 50 seconds, while the ship's liquid oxygen load will start at T-minus 48 minutes and 40 seconds. This is 50 seconds and 100 seconds earlier, respectively. For the Super Heavy booster, the fuel load will begin at T-minus 40 minutes and 40 seconds. This is 40 seconds earlier than for Flight 4, but the liquid oxygen load will actually start later in the count than for Flight 4 by almost 3 minutes.
See what I was saying about daytime launches?
And 3 seconds in the count.
The color is just so muted.
Into each of the main tanks of the rocket, frost will start to accumulate on the outside walls, which always helps with following the status and progress of this process. As the tanks are filled, vents at the top of them will activate from time to time to keep pressures in check. This is because the inert gas that once was inside of them will have less and less room available as the propellant load continues. This increases the tank pressure, and obviously nobody wants to find out what happens if that's left uncontrolled. At T-minus 19 minutes and 40 seconds, the Raptor engines will begin chill down on both vehicles, conditioning them for ignition and flight operations. Around this time in the count, the ship's header tanks will also start filling with propellants. This will result in even more venting from the ship, but this time from the nose cone. After loading over 4,500 tons of propellants across all 6 of Starship's tanks in less than 50 minutes, the propellant load sequence will end, wrapping up first on the ship at T-minus 3 minutes and 20 seconds, followed by the booster 30 seconds later. It's in these final minutes of the count when other events take place as well, such as...
Let's see this helicopter while they're doing this.
Some cool night.
The one that it was still dark on the ground when that launched, but it was a really stunning jellyfish.
Yeah, what was that helicopter doing? That's kind of
weird. Very quickly, Alex, unless you notice anything at the ordinate. Oh, is the helicopter starting its engine?
Maybe. I do see some cars at the pad. You can see there on the big box screen, sort of right above the ticker. Some cars are going the right direction, which is to the right, outside of the launch pad. But there was one going left towards the tank farm and the beach direction.
Let's do pilot talk. November 328.
So
Papa
we're going to keep
Kilo.
an eye on this helicopter because whatever they needed to do with it, it looks like they're done and they're starting the engine. We can hear now from the microphone that the engine is getting louder. So we should see this fly away pretty shortly, one would assume. It's got the beacon flashing there. And in the meantime, the poke vent appears to have stopped.
So yeah, for anyone wondering, because I know I sure was, that is like a charter helicopter, it looks like.
Or it's still going. Sorry, my eye's deceiving me. But let's focus on this helicopter.
Looks like it might be about to take off.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
I don't want to interrupt anything, but I'll keep it. I'll keep my.
You'll see the helicopter lift off slightly before it actually takes off.
Keep my ear out for the engine increasing in pitch. There it is. I think the grass might now be starting to get a little bit affected by the wind. It's getting louder.
Okay, now they're going to take off.
Sounds like we might get a takeoff soon.
Takeoff lights are on. You'll see the nose come up first. Helicopters are so freaking cool. And it sure would be fun to have all those lights flashing in
So
your
for those
eyes.
of you just joining us, this
while you're taking
helicopter
off.
has just landed alongside, or on Highway 4, alongside some parked vehicles. We're not 100% sure what it's here for, so we're just... There it
Just gonna
goes.
fast forward.
Start
Oh wow, they're
driving down
going
Highway
forward
4.
first.
Didn't think I'd see this when I woke up.
I
That's
really
uncommon.
didn't thought we could say helicopter to the pad instead of car to the pad.
There's vehicles to the pad, but it's a helicopter. And
Well,
there
that
it
was new.
goes.
I think
Something
that's-
to keep us entertained.
I've
with in
only
the
ever seen
meantime, Marcus.
helicopters take off and land
Yeah.
on a helipad, so that was certainly interesting.
The amazing coverage. Let's go for air quotes, the catch.
The catch, full stop.
Is it air quotes if they typed them?
The catch.
Whatever. We made the air quotes out loud, out in the air with our fingers when we said air quotes. But
Yep.
True North, thank you so much. 80 Australian dollars there supporting the show. Where are we?
Well, 39 minutes away, potentially, from the launch of Starship for the 5th time.
Look at that angled
I gotta keep
vent.
Start remembering
These
to mute
subcoolers
myself.
are crazy.
Yep.
So what you basically see is rapid boil off of nitrogen.
Yeah.
Because they're kind of getting a bath. Like the propellant gets a nice little bath, a nitrogen bath. And of course, if one component gets colder, one component gets hotter.
They sort of
That's-
trade off.
Yeah.
You take energy away when you send one. Yeah.
And then you have that all of that now gaseous nitrogen, because it's no longer liquid, it boiled. And that is exactly what we're seeing. And the more crazy that goes, the faster is the load.
And you can see the ones going to the left are for booster, and the one going to the right, that is for the ship. One thing that that video by Alicia, by the way, she was reading off my script that I wrote for that video. One of the things that I really wanted to emphasize on that video was the part about the tanks venting continually as they keep loading, precisely because that pressure keeps growing. If you don't release it, then that's a bad thing. And so maybe if we can go back to the ship view, you can already see that progress, that sort of process occurring already on the ship as it keeps being loaded with propellants. And so you can see now as well that methane tank on the booster getting frosty, which is nice. But yeah, if you see regular venting, like short vents every now and then, don't worry, that is not depress vent. Sometimes people get worried that it might be, oh, they are aborting or something like that. No. That's normal. That is the regular process to keep those tanks in check, essentially.
Gotcha. By the way, does anybody need room service? Because they were just knocking on our door. I don't know if y'all heard them knocking on the door, and we're like diving for the mute switch, and they looked in here and they're like, "What?"
So yeah, by the way, if something were to go catastrophically wrong, it'd almost certainly, like, you'd see an explosion. You would see a huge cloud come out that wasn't there before, and it wouldn't keep streaming. There would be like debris and stuff like that. So that's what to look out for. Any plumes of smoke or vapors or stuff like that, almost always a nothing burger.
For a super chat. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for the super chat. Keeping it quick.
Thank you so much.
God damn it, I'm still not.
Alex, what did you spot?
That is the OLED
There's
vent
no
has
way.
stopped.
That's actually kind of
It's one of the
ridiculous.
early indications that liquid oxygen load is underway. On
Their
the booster.
levels are messed up.
And
When
I
they went to
believe
that
SpaceX
video,
just confirmed that propellant load.
when they went to that video of that lady talking about what the process will be, she was so quiet, and I had to turn them way up. Like, I see what they're doing now, so that way, if people go off screen, then the audio levels change, and then you come back louder, and then people are like, oh, wow, they're back. I'm going to switch tabs now. But, like, it's so annoying when you're trying to stream it.
Yeah,
Conditions?
it's
Yeah,
happened
temperature?
before.
Yeah.
I'm mostly
The
sure
wind.
that it's probably for other streams where we are covering these like full stack testing or whatever. We're focused on other kinds of things, right, going on. So it's very easy to forget from time to time. But it tends
Maybe
to
the
be
winds
like that.
too.
Yeah,
like the winds
and,
aren't.
and also the wind. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the wind tried. Oh, they almost like break the flow.
Yep.
You have like heavier wind, and they break this flow of the stream. And of course, basically no wind today is present. So
it's just continuing its course, like it's just going off in that direction.
We are also seeing
That just
more
looks
and more
cool.
light, by the way. Like,
Yeah.
depending on the camera, you can look at that. There's clear signs of daylight now on this camera.
The cameras are going to get better and better. The higher the sun comes up, the more light we get, the better this is. Oh, look at that one.
Exposure.
So this is actually looking out to the east right now. This is from our highway site looking out to the east. You can see the tower, the chopsticks spread wide open up there in the catch position. Look at the top of the chopsticks. You see the catch rails were up.
Look at, wow.
Here's the wider shot even.
It's going to be a gorgeous launch.
Yeah,
yeah, it is.
I'm not envying Kevin's position right now because he has to pick what he wants
Which to
show.
show.
Like imagine having like 40 amazing pictures and you're like, what do I want to show?
Yep.
Yeah.
In any event, I see a bunch of people talking about no catch attempt. Apparently some people coming through trying to troll or give bad information, maybe from other.
They're not trolls. I hate NASA spaceflight so goddamn much. Like, no, they disagree with you. They don't think it's possible. People have reasons for believing this that aren't just, oh, I'm going to troll NASA spaceflight today. Like, it's so ridiculous how close-minded they are. Yet, they see time and time again Elon not living up to his promises. How can you be so brainwashed? Seriously, I'm asking every single person on NASA spaceflight this. How are you so brainwashed? You can chat with me about it if you want. I stream, I do interviews and stuff. But, like, you gotta stop being like this, dude. Like, it's kind of disgusting. It's kind of disgusting.
It's going to go downrange. It's going to separate the Starship, continue going all the way around the world to the Indian Ocean. And then the booster will get the decision whether it should come back or not.
This is, I really think for all the people that get confused here, if you see a stream that is official SpaceX on YouTube and has an Elon Musk talking
probably
about
not.
Bitcoin,
Yeah.
don't listen to that.
Not the right. Yeah. Don't listen to whether or not there's going to be a catch from that stream.
Like, that really just shows what this is about. It's about making money off of someone's face. They definitely didn't get their information from there. And for you to go there and assume that they did, like, they couldn't have got it from Thunderfoot. They couldn't have gotten it from anybody who's critical about this and has, like, a background to criticize it with. Like, this is ridiculous to me that they're upset that somebody's challenging their worldview. And they are this triggered. Like, as a leftist, I see that happen with lefties sometimes, especially the new ones. This isn't normal behavior, NSF. You're actually, like, paranoid, it sounds like, that they're right.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I almost don't want to say it because then the photographers of our team get mad at me because I'm jinxing it. But this looks like perfect conditions for a launch.
Adrian, the last time I was on the roof, we couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
I was on the roof of the hotel.
He better be knocking on wood while he says that.
Island. Fantastic place to watch the launch from, unless it's foggy. And that day it was foggy, and we didn't see anything. But look at this today.
I'm not sure if our photographers are listening, but I wonder if because there are some on the roof right now, right?
There are. There's actually quite a few folks up there.
So I wonder if we could get like a picture from them of like how is it looking? That would be interesting to see. Oh.
Now, this isn't I don't know that this is the photographer's camera. This might be just the 24/7 camera up there that gets to rust in the salt air, not the nice equipment. That is, like, some of the cameras we have out there 24/7, 365. They're live all the time. Starbase Live is our 24/7 stream that's been going for multiple years now. There's thousands of people a day chatting about what's going on over there. But we have cameras that are not as expensive because they rust like crazy. And then we have nice.
So first of all, NSF, don't put your cameras somewhere that they can rust. I don't know, they're actually by the ocean, or at least by brackish water, so maybe that's easier said than done. But, like, secondly, I just want to point out real quick, what I just wrote at the bottom of my screen is 100% more honest framing than what they're doing with saying, "Oh, you can't say they're not going to catch it this time." Like that's propaganda. That you're trying to hype people up and believe something that is just going to disappoint them if it doesn't happen. And then you expect them to come back to the Church of Elon the next time you do one of these streams. Like, how is this sustainable aside if it isn't a cult? Because you're effectively being wrong by telling them to support Elon every single time, and then somehow they come back. It really does bother me. It bewilders me, and I wish that we were better at critical thinking as a species.
We started putting videos out there. A lot of people were really interested in this, started showing up. So now for multiple years, we have been sharing what's going on in spaceflight. We do SpaceX, we do Starship, we do Falcon 9 flights out of the Cape. We have teams all over the country. We send teams to other countries.
But they're so broke. They're so broke, by the way. They don't make very much money at all. So please buy stuff.
To our stream, you know how to get back to us. Click the little bell, subscribe button, whatever you want to do. You can find us here anytime, just about any day. Oh my gosh, the views though.
Yeah.
Look at that. But this is the only place to find us. We're on basically all the different social media platforms.
As a photographer, I can guarantee that would be a dream to be there and get to take photos, like even unrestricted. Like, oh yeah, if you kill yourself, it's fine. Just go up and take photos as close as you want.
Don't tell anybody.
Yeah, I would pretend to be an Elon fan just to have that opportunity.
We have a TikTok account.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Neat.
We have.
Yes, for the folks over there on the TikToks. So wherever you are, there's the commands over there in chat. That's a cloud. That's not an alien spaceship spying on what's happening with Starship here. Follow us on all the different places. Some people want like the short content. Some people want to be able to send it to the rest of their family on whatever social media network the rest of the family's on. We put stuff everywhere. Like, we've got a team of people who are taking all the different videos and clips and content and time lapses and whatever, and we're basically putting it everywhere. So whatever app you're on, follow us all over the map. Rhymes with the app.
You know who also wants to send it? The SpaceX.
Thank you. Nice.
That was a transition. Yeah.
Send it, return it.
Yeah, send it and return it.
Both of them. You know, the other thing that got sent, I can say this, can't I? So we do Next Spaceflight.
Yeah.
Too. There's an app, Next Spaceflight, and you can download the app. It's free. It doesn't have any ads or anything like that in it. Like, you'll keep showing up to the stream, so we don't have to put ads in the app. And you can get notifications when stuff like this is going on. So you want a 30-minute notification when SpaceX is in fueling? But was it time to send that notification yet, Alex?
Yeah, like the one that I just sent out there, right? I hope a lot of people are joining from there. Hope you got alerted by it.
I guess that's a half-decent idea, since you know people are going to want to know that anyways.
There you go. But it is getting brighter and brighter out there,
That's
y'all.
basically daylight.
Yeah, it is. That camera's maybe a little exposed right now. But
I don't envy all of the cam ops behind the scenes right now who have to adjust like the brightness on every single camera like every 2 minutes.
Yep. As the sun starts to come up and it gets brighter, it is a thing. Boy, we have a huge team of people.
Wow.
Look at that.
That's just a picture.
No, please launch into that, SpaceX.
Yeah, just I don't care if the rocket is half empty. Just launch right now.
No leaky valves. There's no hydrogen on board, so we're
I will
good
give
there.
them this much: they have a good sense of humor.
Ice in the tubes. Like, just launch into that sky, please. Look at that.
And so far, we have not heard from any problems they're working on. Like, like usually SpaceX, once they are starting communication about fueling, they tend to communicate if something is a watch item.
Yep.
And so far, nothing seems to be a watch item for this launch. They just progress through this timeline.
Well, the launch is the watch item, Adrian. That's what we're gonna.
That's a big.
That's
a watch item.
Is the launch, but.
You're putting too much faith into SpaceX self-reporting, given that, like, after IFT-4, we still don't know how much of a success it really was, because they certainly didn't claim things like the Pez dispenser or the soft land. Well, I think they declared the soft landing as a success. But, like, there's no way that you think, like, the heat tiles letting pieces of the ship burn to be a success. And SpaceX hardly addressed that. The most I've heard about is them blaming the FAA for making their jobs too hard.
Photos get put into our Discord and on the YouTube channel and all these different places. We tweet out a lot of them and that sort of stuff as well. we're just constantly generating this content, not because we generate content, yay, like stamp. We want to share this stuff with y'all. So thank you for showing up and hanging out with us.
Absolutely. 25 minutes, potentially.
Oh,
maybe.
It's getting real. Mike Pollock, super chat came through there. $50. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for the support, Mike. We're gonna have to breathe at some point. Not yet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still fine here. we have that's always the thing. Like, we have quite a journey to go because, of course, this mission, well, it doesn't end with liftoff.
Yep.
That's just the first chapter here.
Yep.
If they go for it, we have a ship re-entry.
Yep.
We have potentially a booster catch.
Yep.
Like, it's an hour of action.
Like after the launch.
Yep. It's just ongoing for like an hour.
So many times it's like launch, and then the launch is done, and then okay, everybody go home, right? But when this one launches, you got to stay around to see if it's going to come back home, see if they're going to catch it, are they going to flip it over, is it going to abort ATO, abort to ocean, as opposed to abort to orbit?
They're not wrong. That is definitely an appeal of this content.
I hope we get like some sort of like audible confirmation if they go for the catch. Like, I want to hear a go for catch or something.
Yep.
And that's probably a moment like gut punches the.
I am swooning over some of the shots they're getting.
Kick into your whole body when you're like, oh, they're going for this.
Yep.
And see, their audio is suddenly super low now. Their
Hey,
levels are
real quick,
never
Quark
consistent.
Latinum out there on Dolphin Island, really hoping to at least see something from the launch. Quark's an Iowa boy, so don't get this kind of chance often. Good luck, Quark. Keep on looking, and let's see what we get this beautiful morning out there at Starbase.
Yeah. And the last time we had, I must say, but I will say it. The first attempt on Flight 1 had similar conditions. Where every photographer of our team was mad that they didn't
go in that beautiful window.
Yeah. And then the second one was like the foggy one where we almost didn't see it.
Yep.
But then we had like the sun just burned through and we just got like barely through the fog. It was like if it launched 2 minutes earlier or 2 minutes later, we would have not seen it.
Yep.
At all.
Yep.
It was kind of crazy as well.
I'm actually kind of surprised they would launch in the fog
ship.
because
those sort of like
you think that there would be like somebody watching it launch
venting that is
visually,
going on. That
just
is
in
part of
case
the
the
engine
telemetry
chill
gives
process. We
like
are
bad
not yet
data
at that
to
point, though,
that they
in
would
the
like
timeline. That should be
at
the
radio in like,
19
hey,
minutes and
this
40-second mark.
rocket's
But
off.
They do some kind of
But maybe
preparation.
it's probably not that easy
to get
to
ready for that.
determine
And
once it's high
definitely
enough in
lots
the
of
air. So
activity. Like, you
I don't
can
know if they
see
actually do
the
that.
rocket is becoming very active.
I would imagine you do just for the sake of having that extra
It's alive.
pair of eyes on it.
Astronauts
But
are often referring to that of course, this one doesn't have astronauts.
maybe
but
they don't
like
need it.
I know from astronauts, for example, with Falcon 9, discussing that it almost feels like you have this living,
Holy
breathing
shit! They need to.
machine
They need to stop
below
with these
you.
amazing
Look at
shots.
Yes, so much. Like it's almost like this ocean of clouds.
It really is.
And that's all gonna be very quickly away once these Raptor engines start to do their thing.
I want to go out there and wade through it. I can't. Like, it's not safe to do that. But I just want to be standing in the middle of that. I bet you it's nice and cool. If it's oxygen and it's a higher oxygen environment, it's way too easy for things to become flammable. If it's anything else, like nitrogen or something like that, you could be asphyxiated. It's like, oh yeah, it looks like a nice cloud to stand in. As it turns out, that cloud doesn't contain enough oxygen for you to breathe. So across the board,
Well, either
you
too much or
shouldn't go
not
out
enough.
into places that have vapors like that, as cool as it looks.
In general, places that could have like stopped circulation of air. Well, look at that. It's fueling up.
Yep.
It's progressing as we hope.
You can see the frost lines continuing to climb up both the ship
At this
and
point,
the
they better
booster.
have the
You
fuel
see where
loading
it's
process
shiny,
down.
The rising sun
Like they get to
shining off the
rehearse
very
that
middle of the
way
rocket.
more
There's
times
no
in the
ice
flight
there
test.
yet. Just down below it, where it's a little bit more muted, you're not getting those shiny reflections. That is ice, and that is sort of indicating the level of fuel that is in the rocket. So at this point, over half fuel, do you think?
One thing that you may notice, as we count down, the ship propellant load, since it has main and header tanks, what they seem to do is like they stop at around 85% of the main tanks being full, and then they stop the propellant load on the main tanks, and then they transition and load the header tanks. And that usually happens around this point in the countdown, minus 20 to minus 15 minutes. And then once the headers are full, then they proceed to fill that remaining 15% of the main tanks.
God, I
And
love
so
OBS so
that
much.
is one thing. As those header tanks get full, catch some of that venting out of the nose cone.
Sounds like we've got the helicopter coming back over, don't we?
Well, sounds like it.
I didn't see it go by anywhere, but I heard it for sure.
Also, there's some regular. I hate the word.
Wait, but time out.
Yes.
Less than 20 minutes now. It just ticked under 20 minutes. Okay, what were you going to say?
Just a quick regulatory note, because we got some interesting notes about this. There are some exceptions where this flight is considered experimental, where the FAA
I'm really
would
sorry,
not
chat.
consider
OBS is making this a nightmare.
mishap investigation, even if something out of the ordinary happens. That especially
So
applies
I looked
to
it up on Flight
the
Radar.
re-entry part of
That
the
was just
ship,
a plane going over.
where they basically say, we understand it's experimental.
Yep.
And they would not trigger a mishap based on that. That's just an interesting side note. That doesn't apply to the booster, by the way. So if the booster catch, for example, goes wrong, that could result in an investigation.
It is a different thing. I mean, the booster is coming back to land, right? And whatever goes wrong with the catch, they want to make sure that the public is safe is a huge thing, right? You have a skyscraper coming back. But SpaceX, at the end of the day, SpaceX needs to understand what went wrong. They're not designing the system to crash boosters into launch pads. They're designing the system to catch boosters and rapidly reuse them. So SpaceX is definitely going to get to the bottom of whatever happens.
Is that some tiles? Like, Alex, are these tiles gray or are they missing?
Are those the instrumentation tiles I saw some close-ups of, or is that something else, Alex, on the side of the ship in this view?
Yeah, they do have some of that. Just like on the previous flight, they had some test tiles, some locations where they either had missing tiles or locations where they had an alternative material, right? They have a similar thing as well here on the skirt, on the engine section of the ship, and also here what we're seeing here on the side, on the port side of the vehicle.
Yeah, everybody see what we're talking about? Like the center of the ship there, maybe a little bit just above the center, in those white tiles. It's all the black tiles and the
By
sun
the way,
reflecting
the
on the
audio
left-hand
and
side, but
video
those
cutting
white-
out is on their end.
They're actually like a light gray or something like that, if I remember
my
correctly.
stats for nerds for a second.
They're not missing tiles. In the past, a lot of times when we see holds like that, it's because tiles fell off. Those are actually intentional.
You know what? Maybe it is.
The ones that we've seen there, like instrumentation or different materials, like Alex was saying.
And that's totally important
where's
here,
my
because
system?
while we talk about the catch a lot, because it's very visually interesting and also a very huge milestone they might attempt, the ship is equally, if not more important, because they are still, this is a ship that features a whole new terminal protection system, an updated version, and I bet you there's a huge group amount of people in SpaceX that really want to get to know how this does perform. And will it survive re-entry better?
In other words, they want to know
flap again
what will fail.
that saves the day? Or will we actually see maybe like a fully intact ship reach the ocean?
I like it, the hero flap that saves the day.
I mean, that was probably one of the craziest moments I've experienced in my life.
Hopefully we've got that sorted now. All right, we continue to tick towards 15 minutes now. Everything still going towards the potential launch. The little flap that could. That's exactly what it was, the little flap that could.
Absolutely. It was absolutely crazy. SpaceX confirming, by the way, that the 39 Raptor engines on this deck are now in engine chill in preparation for liftoff. 39, of course, coming from 33 on the booster and 6 on the ship.
All right.
Whew. It's starting to get a bit of, like, tingly.
I'm wondering, I think we might check in with some of the folks in the field. We wouldn't have a lot of time to do that, but we're going to see if we can't round up a couple different folks for the little flap that could. Nice. Thank you, Aramil. Color in chat with Joanna. Hey, how's it going? When the hair on your arm stands up, so excited. Thank you for all your hard work. Whew. Buddy. All right.
It's happening.
It is definitely well.
The weld line is sometimes the distinguisher between
The distinguishing line. Gotcha.
But everything else basically gets frosty. And also there's a bit of a lag in the frost,
right?
Because the frost, of course, it
takes
higher,
time.
Yeah,
for
it's
it to
higher
form.
than it is actually like in the tank. It's higher than the frost because frost is not instant.
Yep.
Gus, can you
We're
hear
gonna start.
us?
Oh wow! Hey, it's Jack. What's up, Jack?
Hey, I'm here at River Live. I've got a bunch of cameras set up. I've got a bunch more to set up. Max, are you there?
I am here. How do you guys have me?
We got you.
5x5, buddy.
Amazing. Yeah, we are currently on top of the Margaritaville Hotel. Well, the light is turning spectacular. It's only going to get better.
Yep.
Got a couple more cameras to adjust. We are just about ready, everybody. This is going to be quite spectacular.
Can you see the rocket, Max?
Oh, I sure can. Clear as day view.
Jack, how about you?
And
Can you
good
see the
news.
rocket from River? Oh, go ahead, Jack.
I can see it. I can see it just fine. It's looking good. I'm so ready. The conditions today could not be better. So fingers crossed that we get a launch and a catch attempt, because this is going to be so insanely beautiful. I don't even know if I'm ready for it. But I'm going to jump off. I'm going to keep setting up cameras. I love you guys. Thank you so much to the entire team. It takes so many people
I
to
do
do
hope
this
they
stuff.
do the
It
catch
really is.
attempt,
So
but only
thank you,
because I
everybody.
have
Max, I'll see you on
the
the other side,
results
buddy.
that
We're
I'm
in Starbase.
anticipating.
Jack, we're in Starbase. I'll see you on the other side. But
Max,
yeah,
was there
we are
good
currently
news
6
before you
miles
go?
away. Yeah, I was just going to say that the atmosphere is being nice to us today. We're about 6 miles away, and we can see almost every last detail on the rocket. That is spectacular news, and we could not be happier about it. So fingers crossed that nobody else violates the zones and airspace stays clear, and we can get this big girl off the ground today.
Hey, don't jinx it. Hopefully everything is clear out there and go for launch. Look at all the different colors from all the different angles. Wow.
That's we will have these cameras during liftoff.
It's
That's
quite
gonna
amazing.
That's gonna be quite Did you just knock?
Knocked on
Hopefully
some wood.
we'll have these cameras on liftoff.
They have like 8 cameras,
I
right?
just
But they're
opened
not a
up
big
everything
operation.
possible.
What's up, Alex?
Fuck off.
Yeah, I've been keeping up with the updates from SpaceX. So far, so good. Not working any technical issues. The weather is
Excellent.
actually 100% go, which is quite a rarity.
100% go.
It looks like it.
Yeah, right. And so far, again, the only thing, they are clearing boats from the range still.
Right.
Hopefully, those get cleared in time for liftoff. 12 minutes from now, but so far
This
so
this
good.
happens every time.
If for
I've
whatever
only ever
reason
seen
we're
it delay
stuck
it by
today,
like 30 minutes.
need a 48-hour recycle. So hopefully,
A 48-hour
no
recycle.
days.
Okay. And there's some special rules about boats on the range. Like you hear boats on the range. Okay. Some of the rules, if the boat is in contact with the range and the boat is clearing, they can continue forwards with the count, right?
Yep.
They don't have to shut everything down.
They
as
definitely
long as,
didn't
say there's
spend any
one boat out
money
there and
on
they're in
that
contact
graphic
with
to
that
the
boat and that boat
left.
is getting out of dodge, they can keep going forwards. So just because there's a boat on the range right now doesn't mean basically anything besides the fact that there's a boat on the range. Now they do have to make sure they're in contact and get them out of the way, but we will see what we get as the sun continues to rise out here at Starbase.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, fantastic to hear. Like 100% weather, as Alex said. That's like usually they say more than 95, That's the usual wording because they're like, we still have this slight chance. But
Yep.
they are at this point like 100% is a very high state of confidence.
Yep.
And that means there's no issue. Like the weather officers is having a good day right now.
The weather officer's like, all right, I'm good.
Yep.
That's
good.
fine.
It's fine. Like already like having sunglasses on. Like, yeah, it's good.
They have their arms.
So yeah, this is sabotage
Behind their head, their
thanks to
fear
YouTube
up on the console, like weather.
for me
I don't
having
know,
ad
100%,
block.
send it.
I hope they're not
I
creating a
don't care.
memory leak.
Okay, we rapidly approach 10 minutes, y'all.
This is how you
Remember,
get memory
remember,
leaks.
if you see fake streams out there, there's a lot of fake streams claiming to be SpaceX. Not us. We're for real over here, sharing you what's
You might be sharing what's actually happening, but you also kind of have like a don't question Daddy Elon kind of mentality.
We're not asking for your crypto.
So you're not
wallet or
as honest
anything
as
like
you're
that.
making yourself out
At
to
some point,
be.
you don't even have to talk about those in chat because it doesn't add anything. Like, yeah, there's people out there. Click report and move on. You know why you want to move on? Because that's 9 minutes and 59 seconds.
Yeah, you don't want to spend the last 10 minutes before starting.
Be sure to not tell people.
I don't know, like
to avoid doing that
about,
if you're just mad at what they're saying. Oh, you're not allowed to be angry in chat. This isn't the internet. This is the happy safe space for Elon fans. It's a literal safe space. Like, I have no problem with safe spaces, but I don't think Elon fans need them so much.
Because I don't. If I'm always paraphrasing with if, so I'm not to blame here. If this goes, this might shape up to be one of the Starship launches so far with the most fantastic views.
Oh yeah,
we will ever see. Like,
so yeah, their commentary
it's
actually
almost,
isn't
it
that
feels
important.
a bit too close to comfort right now because
the interesting thing is that I've pretty much said all this the whole way through, aside from the, pandering to Elon Musk fans the whole time. So.
It's that good. You're like, you're getting.
I'd
nervous,
argue
like,
my
why
broadcast
is
is
this
better.
so good?
Look at that.
We don't need that to not skip. Although it is funny how predictable this is.
Swing arms. You see the arms up there? They're sort of connected to the ship, and there's actually lines going up. The booster, you'll see when this thing takes off. I'm gonna think positive. When this thing takes off, you're gonna see all those things swing out. Right?
We're gonna pause it. I'm gonna do some stream of consciousness for a moment. Hello, chat. How's it going? I just want us to understand that what we're seeing here is not normal. YouTube does not normally do this for me, even when I run streams. I very much think, because I'm not dropping frames on OBS, that what we're actually seeing is YouTube trying to force ads, even when they know they can't play them, so that way ad block will just build up in memory. See how I'm getting the loading thing even though I paused it? That's usually a good sign of that. My memory is also not dropping. So what is YouTube trying to buffer if it's not an ad for when I press play? This is just sick. Like, YouTube doesn't even want their site to work anymore. And it's going to lead to, like, progressive breakdowns of people leaving because their site doesn't work, and then them trying even harder to make sure people see ads, which is going to break down their site further, which is going to cause more people to leave. I have no plans for another streaming platform yet. They've all got their pros and cons, and Twitch, I'm canceled from. So I think it's, it's just sad. It's obviously sad. Nobody wants to see YouTube go to shit, but except for YouTube, it seems, and maybe some very upset people. But like this is purely just like punishment for having ad block, and the fact that YouTube thinks that they can do this just shows that they have too much of a monopoly on these sort of platforms. I wish I had a whole team of programmers and stuff like that, like YouTube does, because I would definitely make a new platform with way better features overnight. And I would make sure people get memberships, and there's Patreon options and stuff like not Patreon, but patron options, like members, like actual memberships for extra content, all embedded in it, which YouTube took way too long to do. So I really, really think, there's going to be greener pastures, and this is the death knell of YouTube. Maybe I'm wrong, but there's going to there are websites that don't need to do this, and they're going to become better over time. Let's try this again. Now I'm gonna assume it'll need some buffering time at first.
It's weird how these last 2 hours fly by.
Yep.
Because once you're in this
5 minutes.
terminal countdown, you're like,
okay. New tactic. This is not going to help.
looking at the clock, and
times.
it's 5 minutes now.
But
Apparently,
it will help us keep the stream going for when it launches. Oh shit! Thunderfoot's doing a popcorn stream. Fuck yeah! Let's see what he's talking about. In fact, I know where all my viewers went.
The time much.
Shut up! I'm so closing this tab now. Okay, so now we're. But wait, was this tab? How do I have so many tabs open? Okay, yep, more ad block bullshit. So you guys aren't going to see anything. It's because I don't think it's actually worth showing my battle with ad block. We're going to check out the Thunderfoot stream real quick once it loads, and while that plays, I'm going to make sure I have the main stream from NSF going, just because they will have the most angles of coverage. Here we go.
Of energy that you've
So let's switch over window.
Oh, actually, hang on. They've got some close-ups. It looks like the. Let me bring you back to the
I'd love to know what he thinks of NSF and just like the way they pander super hard.
There we go. Yeah, it looks like they're getting better at doing their tiles. They've got like it looks like sealant between them. This, of course, is the real real big problem. Thank you for the super chats, by the way, much appreciated. The upper stage is where basically all of the game is at, because once you get up to 8 kilometers per second, I did the calculations for that in like 1 or 2 videos ago. It's that thing's got an awful lot of kinetic energy, and actually I'll do the calculations sometime. If you were to just dump that energy into the mass of the actual object, what's its final temperature going to be? But yeah, if you like, when you're burning all of this fuel to start with, I mean, you're mostly, a lot of that energy is just going into accelerating this thing, and all of that energy you've got to lose on re-entry. So that's where, for me, if they can get the booster back, well,
Alex, what's the word?
Another 30 engines into the Gulf of
So
Mexico, which I guess, progress, but. In any event, none of this really matters. Oh, it's only 2 minutes away. Okay, let's stick with the this for the launch. I was going to go through the calculations for, even if it works, there is no market for this. It's an absolute
I was here
bridge
for
to
it.
nowhere.
I might check him out, see if he does it after.
No one's going to go to Mars, and there simply isn't a market for launching 100 tons to low Earth orbit. They're Raptors. Huh, some of them are black on the inside, some of them aren't. Okay. Right, I'm going to see if I can get a bit of noise, see what they're at.
I think he's pointing out which ones are black on the inside and which aren't, because that's relevant to if they've been used
Okay,
already.
so, yeah, let's see how this one goes. Looks like they're building a second launch tower out there. By the way, this thing, all the water that they dump here, which goes directly into the federally protected wetlands directly behind it. I was going through their environmental protection review. No, it's they test for like half a dozen toxic metals, that sort of thing. And SpaceX is
Will appear in
like
any
30
second now.
times
Yep.
outside
In a
the limit
huge
on 5 of them.
sploosh.
It's down there at the bottom.
And,
Watch
yeah,
the
their
bottom of the
mercury
pad
levels,
here.
There it is.
were
There it is.
Something like 10 million
And
times
Raptors.
the federally allowed limits.
Ignition.
And then they corrected it, and it came down to was it 1,000 times the allowable limit for industrial discharge. Oh, here we go. Yeah. So boom, boom, and you're guaranteed if you had the bit of a lean on that. Okay. Oh, right at sunrise. Nice timing. Sound.
So we see that all the engines are... Oh, that is so freaking loud. We see that all the engines are lit.
I don't see any holes in there. I don't see any engines that are offline.
I hope somebody records us. Look at that. That would be amazing. Next up, of course, after that will be the hot staging.
Okay, so we got the mock
Be
rings.
on the lookout. Coming up on a minute and a half into flight here.
Hot stage could go wrong.
Look at that.
Look at the purple plume in the middle there.
Hot stage could go wrong because they're using a new hot stage ring.
Yeah, they are. 33 healthy engines. That's good.
Okay, I gotta move. I'm just
That's
going
good
to
for our chances of a catch.
get rid of this for now so we can see the bottom graphics.
Approaching 30 kilometers in altitude right now.
Watch on the right side, because the first thing you will see is the ship engines like spooling up, because that happens before.
Look at the green there, from the twilight, sort of like hidden the engines.
Absolutely stunning.
Is it from that, or is it just the air filtering the colors?
Now remember, the show's not over. It is possible that more than half of this rocket will come back towards the launch pad, and excitement is guaranteed.
Hot staging should come up.
Watch for the flare out the side. That's the hot staging ring here.
It's a track from us, by the way. And it's hot
There
staging.
it is. Wow.
They are performing a go-no-go poll for the catch now.
Okay,
Pushback
two
burn.
things. There's two things on your screen. There, the booster has turned around and it's lit its engines again. It's coming back home, it looks like.
And this is the moment where they actually will commit. This is the moment where they make the first call. Are they
Maybe it's
going
just a
for a
camera.
catch?
They're looking at everything. The booster looks like it looks to me like it's coming this way.
Yeah. I see. That looks healthy to me.
Nice even spread. The plume expansion there around the back of the booster on the right-hand side. That pin in the middle of the right-hand side. That is what they're supposed to catch it with.
You can see the booster on the ship
side.
Look at that. Also, mentioning the ship here, 6 healthy engines.
Nah, the ship's going downrange. Good job, ship. It's fine. Go do your thing, ship. We want to see the booster.
Look at that. It's almost
First
golden.
Shutdown. Running on 3 engines, and that's the end of the boost back burn.
End of boost back burn. And now we are waiting for the go for catch.
Okay.
Because now they are not targeting chopsticks yet. But
They are go for booster catch.
Go for booster catch.
Oh my god.
From SpaceX, confirmation that they are go for the booster catch. It is coming home.
This isn't
what's going to happen.
Oh my god.
We're just laser focused. All the like it was a planning thing. All the photographers follow the booster. Keep your eye on the booster. The ship will be fine. It'll do its thing.
Watch the ship later.
Look at that.
That's beautiful.
These views are gorgeous. Like those that
Wow.
venting from the booster with this illumination.
You can see the heartbeat on this, like the foot. I'm not actually sure whose camera this is, but the adrenaline flowing through the veins of the person with hands on this camera right now. Look at this.
If
Now
this
remember,
succeeds,
if it succeeds,
be
go Alex.
amazing.
Oh,
It's gonna be amazing.
this might be
Like,
venting
it's
your
such a-
tanks or something because, when it lands, like I was saying, the actual burn, this will be probably, I don't know, I'm making this up. What? Yeah, you've got to vent the tanks, otherwise it's a colossal bomb when it lands. What the hell's that thing?
I don't think Starship should be doing that. Those are weird burns.
I don't know. I don't.
The engines still seem to be
don't
running.
Care that much about the details of these things. But
No, that's not
one of the
normal.
nice things about the shuttle was when it landed, it wasn't a bomb.
Now what's going on?
Admittedly, you don't
Something's
need
on fire.
a whole lot. The relight that it does for the actual landing.
Oh wait, is that the booster?
Oh, those are flames.
Yeah, those are flames.
Something.
That can't be right at all.
Oh, it's dumping the extra methane and it's caught fire on the engines, if I had to guess. Oh, no, that doesn't make any sense. There's not enough oxygen at 24 kilometers to get I don't think you can get sensible flames at 20 kilometers. Okay, we're in, Okay, look terribly straight. Right, so it's falling at the moment at about the speed of sound, right? So it's just in free fall, and you only have to light the engines for the last few seconds to actually lose that energy. This is also incidentally why, reusing the. Okay, we're good on all of the relights. Bits flying off.
Yeah, there's definitely bits flying off.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fire. That's not a good fire at all. That's not good at all.
Right, so
that's really bad.
The methane.
Ooh.
Because otherwise.
It's catching. It's catching.
Okay.
That's a catch. That was really close to the tower.
And yeah. Now is the tricky bit is you've got to get all of the fuel out of this. Yeah. Well, congratulations on landing the booster. Works, I guess. Yeah. Oh, and finally, they're actually cheering at something that's not blowing up. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, good on you, boys.
I'm sorry, but so many of them have probably creamed their tighty-whities.
Yeah, your mind's blown.
It's still on fire. The shit's still on fire.
So, what have we actually? Right, the next real deal comes like, can you actually get the upper stage? Right.
Yeah, get that drone on the fire.
It's nice, not. It's still on fire. But as long as you've vented most of your propellant out of your main tanks and you're only using the header tanks, it's much less of a bomb than it used to be. So.
Why don't they just cut off the methane venting?
So, next question. How much did it actually take? For those who are actually still the SpaceX fans, how much did it actually take to orbit this time? The fifth flight of the Saturn V went to the moon.
Okay, SpaceX, can you show us the Starship now?
Yeah.
I guess it's not doing anything that interesting, but...
The third flight of the Saturn V went to the moon. The fifth flight actually took men down.
Oh my god.
Towards the
Okay. I'm switching this up real quick. That is on the quick disconnect. That's not normal.
2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Meanwhile,
it shouldn't.
this
It's not
is,
venting
like I was saying,
methane there.
this
That
is the
shouldn't be
actual
leaking
tricky
at
bit,
all.
is
That probably
the
means
high
that it didn't
energy
close
component of
properly.
the system. So it looks like we just shut our engines down.
So Miko, that's what shutting the engines down is called.
I'm still kind of perplexed at the chat, but
The flame has gone down,
I've got a
luckily.
lot of crow to eat,
But
but
it's not a good place to have a flame. They're venting through the top.
2 years ago.
Away from the flame.
And it's venting, by the way. That's the base of it.
That also explains why they can't just shut off methane venting.
Does the upper stage actually survive without?
Oh, the fire's on the inside. Wow, there's sparks coming. There's molten metal coming out of the bottom. Oh my god, there's pieces falling out of the bottom. Holy crap.
So,
that is a legit fire.
Yeah, it's the upper stage is not. Yeah, that's swaying gently in the wind. I think it is. Huh.
What's his perspective?
Yeah. So now all he's got to do is work out how to get that.
Now we're starting to see actual smoke.
In a few hours.
Something is really burning.
Launch 20 more of them. Create a depot. Create a lunar starship, and work out how to refire the engines in space. And yeah, back to the moon in no time.
I love his sarcasm. His very dry wit sarcasm.
Guaranteed.
Okay,
Well,
flame
yeah,
might be going down.
Could be worse. You could be watching the SpaceX feed where they continue commentary.
Seems like a lot of electrical.
After the rocket's blown up, or just don't
More
notice
pieces
that
falling
their
out of the bottom.
Rocket is out of control. What the hell? This is a bit bizarre. Why is it sideways?
Oh my god. Multiple failures.
It's sideways. Huh. It's not going straight.
That's a beautiful shot of Earth, though.
It's got a rotation on it.
It's kind of like last time where they were supposedly doing a sausage roll, but it turns out that they just didn't have control over that axis.
I don't think it's a camera angle thing. I think that's got a rotation on it. You'll notice that, yeah, right? So you expect this thing to be going
so the pieces
first around the Earth, and it's not. It's going sideways.
So the pieces we're seeing falling off, by the way, are probably ice. So don't get excited about that.
It's possible. They'll be doing the same thing probably the upper stage that they did with the lower stage, which is you've got to get rid of all of the propellants apart from the stuff in the header tanks. So the last time they tried this, it sort of melted. And they say they beefed up the heat shield this time, but of course, beefing up the heat shield means you can take less stuff to orbit.
More weight.
Which brings me on to why there is no market for this thing.
Okay, it looks like they're relighting the engines.
Does here turns out to be a great success. It's still a bridge to nowhere. And, building a bridge to nowhere is questionable. I mean, I suppose, if the government's going to pay for it, that's fine. But, SpaceX launches about 100 rockets per year on the Falcon 9. Roughly 80% of those are their own Starlink launches. So if you actually take a look at the actual launch market for other people's rockets,
Wait.
it's like...
It looks like it's also drifting sideways.
It's like 20, 30 per year, that sort of thing. So if that's the market, and SpaceX claim that they've gobbled up most of the American launches, if that's the launch that you need for everyone's satellites, where is the need for a 100-ton low Earth orbit launcher? Then there's basically only one use for it. It's launching Starlink satellites.
Which he'll probably be done doing.
They've taken off their Pez dispenser and we don't see inside the rocket anymore.
How convenient.
It's empty. And, if they were really keen, if they really wanted to show this thing was going to work, why isn't it carrying 100 tons of Starlink satellites? You know, just ask.
I think
you
I
know?
can answer that actually.
So when
I think the quick answer is that the FAA probably wouldn't have approved it as easily.
this is Starship.
Not saying he's wrong. That's probably also part of it, is that they can't take that payload. But the quicker, easier reason that obviously Musk fans will give is to blame the FAA.
You sort of strain it up at the end. But that does, of course, mean your reaction control thrust.
Whoops, wrong one.
Because at the moment, this is going sideways. It's not meant to be going that way.
Also, I'm pretty sure they're still trying to relight the engines. And that's not going too well.
So we're 15 minutes in, and it's got, what, another 30 minutes to go before it gets interesting. Our speed is, oh god, they're in kilometers per hour. Yeah, it's about 8 kilometers per second. So you're 36,000 seconds in an hour. Yeah, it's like, and it's almost at peak altitude. Yeah, you saw a little bits flying off, not a big deal.
Probably
that,
ice.
You know, when you load this thing up in the Earth's atmosphere, your water condenses on the outside. So, and you put ice into a vacuum, it hangs around for a long time because you've got to evaporate the water off, and as the water evaporates off,
Yeah,
it
I'm
gets
pretty sure.
colder and colder.
Shut up. I'm pretty sure. Just kidding. I love Thunderfoot, but I'm pretty sure the ice becomes drier in the sense that whatever would sublimate at room temperature and like immediately just sublimates in a vacuum, and so the ice is essentially colder than room temperature, I believe. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's how vacuums affect ice.
So you'll quite often
I'll look it up
get
after.
Flecks of stuff coming off the actual all these vehicles. Hey.
By the way, I'm not
so
trying
that-
to piggyback off
down
of Thunderfoot. He's just getting better footage than NSF was. Although, what is NSF seeing right now? That's always...
So,
that
I guess we can
booster
shoot
is
the tip for a bit
so
about
on
the,
fire.
cyber taxi
That
event.
booster
How,
is legit on
you know,
fire.
he made it
Look at this.
futuristic by painting the tires gold. Just so you know, SpaceX is a relatively tiny company compared to Tesla. You know, all of SpaceX's launches, if you're doing 100 launches per year at 50
Fire
million
in the
launch,
disco.
that sort of
I'm just
thing,
kidding.
the
I'm gonna
entire
sing.
revenue of the company is only going to be
Oh my god, look at that. That has to be electrical.
All right.
Oh my god.
Launches 50 each. Yeah, 5 billion. And that's the total.
Okay, now they're
revenue.
showing the same
So
thing as
the
Thunderfoot. So I'm going to go back to
This is
Thunderfoot since
definitely
we're
going
listening to
sideways. I wouldn't be
him.
surprised if this is actually spinning again. Yeah, I mean, there's just no good reason for it to be have lost its attitude like this. So yeah, that's all the money that the company can bring in maximum. Oh, and then of course you've got to factor in that 80% of those launches are their own Starlink satellites. So you know the revenue coming in to the company from other people is like 1.5 billion. So SpaceX is like 1% of the size of Tesla. So this is the thing: you can never actually make enough money launching satellites to go to Mars. Yeah, spinning into the future.
Spinning
it's
and
nowhere
spinning
near as fast as it was
spinning.
previously, but
Twirling and twirling. And dancing.
Yeah. Huh.
I mean, that's one way
Right,
to
yeah, so
do an orbit.
The cyber taxi event, you know, this is the thing that was going to make Tesla rich. Was basically exactly what they had in 2019. You know, where they're going to make 1 million robo taxis within a year or something. and it was all done. If you look around, by the way, so I've only really just started watching the rest of that cyber taxi event. There are loads of people standing around holding what look like remote controls, and I wouldn't be surprised if basically they were sufficiently insecure about their self-driving that they actually had people just basically with remote controlled cars. They're everywhere, right? They're all sat on the more I watch the video, the more I see of these people just standing around essentially holding remote controls, which, like, why do you need those at a robotaxi event again? So, yeah, fairly suspicious about that. But, you know, I'll go through the details. Oh, and of course he's all in with Trump. Yeah.
That switch is so funny too, because they were like,
but, yeah,
Trump was
my reckoning
opposed to
is
EV
the
vehicles,
only way
and
that,
Elon was like, "I'll never support a candidate because
I
I'm not
suspect that
political," or
Tesla
something like that. And it's just like they both sold out
gonna be in a
so
bad
hard.
way in a year or two, and when it goes down, the size, the hole it's going to leave in the market is going to be the best part of $1 trillion. A lot of people are going to lose a lot of money. I mean, you think, I mean, Musk might have been a genius when it came to Twitter. I mean, he certainly was. That bought $40 billion company, and it's lost 80% of its value at the moment. We know that because people lent him some $10 billion to buy Twitter. And they have to report on their investments. And their investments, they now value Twitter like worth 20% of what it was when Musk bought it. And that's merely losing $40 billion. You know, on the grand scheme of things, what you're looking at the moment is chump change. But okay. I went to pictures of the guy with the remote control on Facebook. So yeah, other people have noticed the guys with remote controls as well. Good. Yeah. But right, how we 25 minutes till we see if it melts on re-entry. Even if, yeah. So I think one of the main reasons that they've not gone for orbit yet is because, I mean, it's bizarre if you think about it. These launches still cost a colossal amount of money. And they're not putting anything to orbit. If you take a look at the way the Falcon 9 was developed, it started off as a reliable, robust launch vehicle, and then they started trying to recover the booster. Like I was saying, recovering the booster is the low energy part of the equation. The reason Starship, the Falcon 9 never managed to get a reusable second stage. For reasons that should be clear,
booster is
when you see
still
what happened to the last
burning.
stage of Starship, which is basically melted on re-entry. You know, it's this problem that if you put a heat shield on and the heat shield weighs too much, then you don't get any cargo to orbit. So even if it does get cheaper, you cut into your cargo. It's one of the reasons that rockets are such a pain in the. It's always difficult to make predictions with the rockets because the margins are tiny. Your typical rocket is 90% of its weight is just fuel.
Yep, you're always like at the limits of your engineering budget.
Okay, 90%, but it's keeping level. Okay. Yeah, some 90% of the actual weight of the vehicle is just the fuel, and 10% of the weight is the actual rocket itself, and only typically 1% is your payload to orbit, which, that means that if you can make your rocket 1% lighter, then you double your payload. So quite often these things are very marginal. That if you can actually sort of scrape down some of your, you know, how heavily built your rocket is, it can it doubles the amount that you can get to orbit, which is, oh, something's just fallen off. Just more cryogenic stuff. Yeah.
It's still burning. There's pieces falling out of the bottom of the booster.
And more of this. They saved 33 Raptors.
It's still burning.
From going into the...
That's not reusable.
Yeah. But
I'm sorry that I'm so loud, but like I can't believe it.
If the rest of your rocket system doesn't
also,
work,
is there
still
gas
really
in there?
very
Like
far.
looks like
And
there's
the
a
mere
frost
fact that
line.
We're 5 launches in, and yeah. You saw the numbers when I went through them earlier. The Starship, the booster landing only takes like 10 tons of fuel, that sort of thing.
Wow, look at the pieces falling off. Like it's actually like burning up from the inside.
And if you don't have a reusable second stage, well, congratulations, you made a super heavy booster that can't actually really... if it's not part of a functioning launch system...
Like if that frost line is some gas left in there,
it's a bridge to nowhere
then
anyway,
we might just see an explosion, which
it's
is
a useless bridge to nowhere. You know, it's...
was not expecting to see the booster explode after catch.
Will he buy a Model 3 now? Oh no, total Musk.
Model 3. I said Model T earlier.
SpaceX is greater than NASA now. Well, yes and no. Bear in mind this is being done with government money. There's something else that just came off Starship. Okay.
Some of these pieces are getting bigger, which pieces of ice shouldn't be getting bigger.
Oh, it's
like
a leaf! A leaf just came off Starship. Okay. That's going to make a nice falling star. That's super bizarre.
Yeah, how did
I'm
it get
sure
a leaf?
that was a leaf, right? Now, what makes that fun is you take a look at the surrounding area, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of trees around where Starship is. So, how the hell did a leaf get in there? Yeah, Dear Moon was cancelled, of course. After the... Was it the second or the third flight of Starship? I forget. But either way, you know, they... And bear in mind, when Musk presented Dear Moon, this thing here, which can barely make it to low Earth... well, not even low Earth orbit, suborbital trajectory carrying no cargo, was meant to go around the moon on the Dear Moon mission with no refueling or anything. So... Yeah. No, I think that was the leaf. Just
you love to see.
past
Whoa. Okay, no, they're reshowing the launch, of course. That's gotten me
upper left
before.
there.
It's annoying. Where they show the launch while
I
you're
really
waiting
don't
for
like
it to
all this,
launch,
so,
and
I mean,
you think that
it's
something's
clearly
happened.
venting something, but seems to be going on for a long time.
Yeah, this is a lot of smoke for a booster. Is he looking at the booster now?
I know what it might be. So there's this thing. You get evaporative cooling whenever you're venting into a vacuum. So basically...
I would say that that's what the
between
frost
liquid
line's from,
oxygen
except
and
it's
solid
not going
oxygen is
down.
only like 10 degrees Celsius or something.
I don't think it's evaporative cooling. I think they have either liquid
when
oxygen or liquid
you
methane in
vent
there.
a
Neither of
cryogenic
which are
gas
good.
into a vacuum, it very rapidly freezes.
The liquid methane would
because,
arguably be worse only
evaporative
because
cooling
there's
goes
already
down 10
oxygen in
degrees,
this environment.
and it becomes solid. And the colder it gets, the slower the rate of evaporation.
But of course, the
That's
oxygen
probably
alone
why
is
you've
enough.
got this persistent venting. It looks like our tanks are... Our tanks, I think, should be entirely empty at this point because you do not want, a flying bomb when you're landing it. So... So anything interesting, chat, that not a leaf, my guy? I think it was. JR, how are you doing? Do you think they'll ever make it to the moon? No. Yeah, the whole thing about catching the booster, fine. But you know, the economics are still questionable, even with the Falcon 9. That they didn't revolutionize, they didn't make things like 10 times cheaper than they said they would. They didn't launch 10 times as often like they said they would. They didn't fly within 24 hours like they said they would. So, you know, when you take a look at all of the failed promises that were made for the Falcon 9, it's basically exactly the same thing on steroids with Starship. Apart from with Falcon 9, there was actually a market for it. You know, it could launch 30 payloads of somebody else to orbit per year. Whereas, what's Starship going to be launching again? You know, like 20 fueling flights just to actually get to the moon. And we've not even got to the important stuff yet. Like, you've got to be able to relight the engines in space. You've got to be able to recover the second stage, which is this is much more difficult than I mean, the shuttle, right? It was called the Flying Brickyard because it was coated in ceramic tiles. Vindicated. So, what are we at? We've got about 15 minutes. So I think at 15 minutes, because this is where it gets entertaining, and we're still going sideways. We are still definitely going sideways. But the thing is, we're clearly not rotating because otherwise, you know, it's basically rotated through. Oh, someone give me a super chat saying, "Cope and seethe, nerds. Daddy Elon delivers." Did he, though? Wasn't he meant to be landing on Mars 2 years ago? Delivering? You know, I mean, this is still a very green system. Thoughts on the latest Optimus videos? Right, so with the Optimus, it's exactly the same as this. That the company that can't even make a robotaxi claims that it's going to make something that controls robots. And the answer is no, they're not. And all they had was basically teleoperated robots, which is not that, it's only one step detached from the dancing man in the robot suit is the teleoperated robot. They used to have this thing called the Mechanical Turk, which was basically something that pretended to be a mechanical Turk that could play chess. Apart from it wasn't. It was basically a guy hidden in a wooden box playing chess. And that's basically.
Oh, I know this story, by the way. It's a good one.
It was teleoperated robots pulling drinks. If you take a look at the ones which weren't teleoperated, the ones that were dancing together, apparently the Muskies are now paying Thunderfoot. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Someone suggested to me that I should, right? If you take a look on Twitter, someone gave me a verified account, not verified, what are they called? Blue check mark on Twitter. So I actually have a blue check mark on Twitter now, and every now and again, it's very much like the chat. You know, people come up and say, "Ha ha ha, you paid for Twitter," and the answer is, "No, I didn't." Someone gave it to me, which it cost them like $100 a year or something. It's a reasonable troll, I guess. But it does mean that in principle now I can monetize my Twitter account. But number one, it just feels dirty getting that blue check mark. It's like being gifted syphilis.
Jesus Christ.
Something that I didn't
Such
want
a good joke.
and I can't get rid of. You can't just reject being gifted a blue check mark. So yeah, sharing is caring.
I don't think I'd take a blue check mark.
But anyway, yeah. So in principle, I can actually monetize my Twitter account, but that would mean I would have to spend some time on Twitter. And Twitter was cancer before Musk. Now it's that on steroids. Musk would have run better on ChatGPT than Tesla full self-driving. Actually, yeah, let's go over some super chats. Seeing as we have, what altitude we're at? We're 190 kilometers. So orbital interface is about 100 kilometers, and we're definitely on our way down because we're at 220 Okay, we're going to do the calculation for orbital interface, right? So for this, you just need to count the seconds to go down 1 kilometer. So we're going to count from 188. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. About 10 seconds. 10 seconds for a kilometer is 100 meters per second. That's a third of the speed of sound. And so we've got a full 100 kilometers. So it's going to be 15 minutes. Could be. And it accelerates a bit. So yeah, it's about 10 minutes, I reckon, for orbital interface. Anyway, super chats. Thank you for the super chat, Captain CGC. Love your work. Thank you, Jats Khan. Love the work. Making learning fun. That's why I do it. And shredding stupidity brutally. Yeah. Thank you. And thank you, a divergent thinker. My God, I need to be able to work out to do these things better. Okay, and right. MAGA.
Booster seems okay finally.
Yep.
Again, that's
instantly. I'm kind of even.
They're not going to be able to reuse that booster rapidly.
People on the moon at the moment because he's moving his flaps. Okay.
It completely burnt up all the wiring and stuff around the Raptor engines.
Is that what? There's detritus. They're leaves. They're brown. There are leaves in the wingy things. I'd love to know how they got up there. So I mean, obviously they blow around.
They actually do look like leaves.
Hurricane type things that they have there, and yeah, it's not brown eyes. I can tell you that. And we are still going sideways. We are still going sideways. There is. It looks like there's a bit of rotation coming on. And they are oak leaves. That's an oak leaf. Okay. It's arguable that Elon backing Trump is because he wants his hands in the US Treasury cookie jar. He already has them there. If you just do the quick calculations for the subsidies that Tesla gets like a few billion a year off the government, it's going sideways. This is not meant to be going sideways. This is...
And yeah, basically any rotation at this point will be bad. So if it's rotating like he said, then
so usually you're
it's going to go out of control.
Thrusters. You don't need much of a little tweak to actually get it pointing in the right direction. So
this would require
they spend all of their RCS. Huh. Yeah. Well, this is the thing. Why spend billions going back to the moon? What do you actually get by sending a person to the moon? And scientifically, there's not really a reason
you can get there before the Ruskies.
There never was a reason to do it when we first went to the moon. It was mostly about winning a pissing contest with the Russians. However, once it turns out that they were going to spend this colossal amount of money to go to the moon, you need something to do while you're there more than putting a flag. You know, dropping a flag seems it's an expensive way to win a pissing contest.
But has Thunderfoot considered that flags are very erect?
The most important thing about driverless cars, a massive LiDAR map of the surroundings, which is basically what they had at the unveiling that they had in Warner Brothers Studios.
I hate how
So, yeah,
SpaceX
I mean,
doesn't tell
this
you
is the next question
what this
is,
angle is.
are they actually going to try and refly the booster? All of it's for naught if this thing doesn't survive re-entry in a even slightly passable form. Like the way it landed last time, completely unusable. The thing that slowed down the shuttle, bear in mind, was meant to be flying every 2 weeks. It was proposed as a rapidly reusable spacecraft. And, in the end, they had to reinspect every damn tile on the thing because, obviously, if you have tile failures, you would lose the upper stage. So,
on top of the fact that after the first 2 shuttle missions catastrophically failed, they revamped like all the standards for sending humans into space.
Hang on, it's going sideways. It's not spinning, but it's going sideways. Now, you can't fly in space. There's no atmosphere to control yourself. So the only way you can do it is basically by selectively venting gas, which is basically what reaction control thrusters are. So why isn't it straightening itself up?
Okay, so thrusters aren't powerful enough to
the other thing that's weird
to create a new vector in the forward direction, as well as one that counters
straightening up
the sideways movement, which would be
if
at 45 degrees between the way it's going. If it's going 90 degrees perpendicular to the way it should be going, you would need twice the amount of thrust for both directions.
There's a reason why when they were building the SLS, they only really wanted to launch it once per year because there really isn't that much of a market for launching these things like loads of times. Okay, we look like we're going straight now, which is good. So, and we got our girls back.
I think it's supposed to be nose up at this point too.
Yeah, I mean, if you take a look at the International Space Station, the cost of running it is significant. And if you take a look at the science they actually do on it, are those forest fires? Those are forest fires. We just flew over some forest fires. Huh. Maybe that's what, yeah. I'm all for, are those forest fires? Is it fog? Fog looks like that.
I would say that the way that there were certain plumes where the smoke was denser tells me that it's smoke.
Yeah,
it didn't seem to change with elevation.
It looks good, makes good. It'll be better PR than. Hang on, I just noticed something.
It's going very nose up now.
I want to see it melt. Yeah. Well, we're getting close now. So orbital interface is we are leaving Africa. Orbital interface is 100 kilometers, and we are now falling. Right, we'll count it from 133. 1, 2, 3.
So if it noses over in the back is what does re-entry, it's obviously going to melt.
So 6 times 30, 183 minutes till entry window. Entry window 3 minutes. Actually, per launch than Starship can. It might be twice the thrust and all that sort of thing, but if it can't take cargo to orbit, it's on its 5th attempt. Yeah, there comes a point is like, when does this actually become a working system? And let me just ask you the first question: when does it actually go to orbit? When does it go to orbit? When does it start refiring its engines in orbit? When does it? Flying over something. When does it start doing orbital refueling? When are they actually going to develop a lunar lander? All of this stuff hasn't even been on the table yet because the system fundamentally might never work. Do you have a short position on Tesla? No, I have no position on Tesla. I mean, for me, it's just it's a meme stock. People ask me, why don't you short Tesla if you really believe what you're saying? And the answer is because people are fundamentally irrational when they're betting on Tesla stock. The stock bears, you'll get these things where they miss their targets on their stock, on the performance of the business. These are things that we usually tank the stock and it goes up. Or you get things where he reveals everything and
that's why he's constantly gaslighting people. Elon is always wrong about the timelines.
That behaves irrationally is not a smart move. Okay, we are coming up on the interesting stuff. Did you see Tesla was sued by investors? Yeah, and the defense was, this was literally the judge's ruling, is that no competent investor could take Musk's claims seriously. And
oh my God.
The judgment of why he won in court is because basically the judge ruled that he was a bullshit artist, which is a little weird because that's exactly what happened to Trevor Milton, and he got sued for $4 billion of fraud and put in jail for 5 years. Elizabeth Holmes got 10, and Sam Bankman-Fried got, I think we've got Pink Hue already. Yeah, Pink Hue. Okay, game on. So again.
So by the way, the pink hue is from the ionization of the air.
Do I see missing tiles?
That comes from the heat of re-entry.
This looks like glue. Apparently they've got some asbestos undercoat here. There we go, pink glow. Pink glow. So, the next thing that you need to be looking at is this clock here, which is, what we have, 27,000 kilometers per hour. You've got to lose all of that. This is the thing where all of your energy is. That's like saying, why don't we try to invest in a Ponzi scheme if we get in early days? Why is money? Yeah, it's literally like that. It's like asking you, why haven't you invested? Why haven't you invested or not invested, shorted this Ponzi scheme? So it's going straight, and looks fine. We're still not lost any. Right, the pink glow. You can get enough rough estimate how we're going 8 times the speed of sound. So for this pink glow, the reason it's off the surface is because the gas molecules, they come in, they hit the Starship, they bounce, and then there's a mean free path that they can come before they hit another gas molecule. And when they hit the other gas molecule, you get the ionization. Which is why initially you only get about half the heating. Oh, white growing on the leading edge of the wing here.
Yeah, that's where we're going to start to see it melt. It's way too close.
So I didn't realize this last time. We're going into night. So we're now on the other side of the planet. Not quite Mars yet. We're heading towards the Indian Ocean. And right, so the thing that gave us all the indicators that it was going south last time, you see all this lots of heating here, is
they're moving the
when
fin.
you start seeing burning metal. And the burning metal you see because sparks. So if you start seeing any
I'm more of a
sparks
fan of twisted
whatsoever,
metal.
then the
kidding.
reusability of this thing just basically went south for winter. So yeah, we'll see what we see.
I will say this much: Starlink is actually doing a good job keeping the footage consistent. Oh, look at those clouds.
So we've
That's
actually
pretty.
lost some velocity. We've gone from 27 to 26 kilometers per hour.
1,000.
Huh. Okay. So there's still little bits of gas coming out, because that was little bits of gas being, the gas molecules that come out the back now are actually hitting the atmosphere at 27,000 kilometers per hour. that lights. Well, right, this is the other thing. Seeing as we know, yeah, they lost the focus on the camera. Yeah, that little bit. Oh, sparks. Sparks is bad news.
Yeah, something's burning. Something's melting.
Sparks. Yeah, it's the spaceship isn't meant to be on fire, but at least this time,
it's probably gonna make it.
Yeah,
splashdown.
It's burning metal. It's that's burning metal. Tempted to say it's this. It's got to be the stainless steel that's burning. And how much have we lost? We've lost. We've gone down from 27,000 kilometers per hour to 26. Bear in mind that once you've lost your 99% of the energy of the melt, yes. Once you've lost the 99% of the energy from just going fast, you've then got you're just basically an object falling from space. So at that point, it basically becomes like Starship, the booster. Sorry, the amount of energy that you need, and like the periodic way that it keeps venting gas. And no.
I think that's correction.
Okay, we've lost some more speed and right. I think it was about this time in the last flight that the camera got completely coated with crap, and you couldn't really see what the hell was
still
going on.
Going? Oh, I guess it is.
Yeah, why does it keep venting like that?
I don't know if that's venting.
Huh. So one of the reasons it probably mostly survived last time is stainless steel's actually pretty good. I've got great slabs of steel next door, and you can oxyacetylene torch and just put it directly on there.
I will also point out that the plasma is stable, meaning it's not moving.
Fairly good absorber
out of its
You've got to get
trajectory
it up to
very much.
well over 1,000 degrees. Well, not 1,000. You've got to get it to this sort of temperature before it starts to melt. So, if I were to ask you how much of Starship would survive with no heat shield, the answer is probably still quite a lot of it. Even with things like the shuttle, when they broke up, they were made mostly aluminium, and lots of it melted, the thing disintegrated. But by the time it got down to hitting the ground, there were still big chunks of space shuttle completely unmelted. This looks much better than last time, right? So, much better. So we've had little bits melting, but yeah. So the other thing is when that doesn't look good. That doesn't. It's burning. Yeah. The front wing is on fire. Are we just looking at? So this thing, yeah. You see the plumes of sparks. This thing here is atomic emission. The pink is the atomic emission that you get from gases. Basically, what you're doing is you're heating it up so much that the electrons are coming back, they're falling off, and when they recombine, they emit light. The purple color that you've got here is the emission of the gas. It's oxygen, nitrogen, plasma, something like that. What you're seeing on this side has metal in it, wobble. Right, okay, so we're getting real forces on this thing now because you can see it wobbling. And also, yeah. So I think this is the front one. This is the back one.
The color change is indicative of high temperatures.
Heating.
I think we might even see some warping.
When you,
I don't know.
Ideally, you want the orbital interface to kind of be as long as possible, because then you don't go through this peak heating type thing. Yeah. Actually, no. Okay. So that was kind of interesting. So some of this you're just seeing reflection in the. Yeah, but this doesn't look right. This. Actually, no, it could be. Now, there is this peak heating thing where it looks very trippy, and yeah, that's. Okay, the cameras are slightly out of sync. So every time you ditch a bit of gas out the back, you get a big flare of color, which shows up here. Okay, the cameras are out of sync. Yeah, the sparks are... Is this on fire?
I mean, you could be generating electrical sparks
So
in the ionosphere.
this actually looks more... I think this is the rear one. Yeah, you're looking at the reflection of essentially the venting gases being reflected in this. Oh my god! Now, the temperature of the top side of the wing is about 500 Celsius at the moment. There's a lot of thermal bleed-through on this thing, right? The reason I know that is because when you get your metals very hot, yeah, we've lost a decent chunk of our velocity at this point. But the reason I know that, you see it's going all these multicolored. You need the metal to be several hundred degrees Celsius. There's an oxide layer on the surface of the metal. And yeah, so there's a lot of heat coming through this. You're not to the point where you'll be able to fry eggs on that. You're on the point where your eggs would just catch fire if you put them on there. That being said, yeah. This looks good. The back one looks good. The front one looks like sparks. And yeah, burning's not good. Yeah, lots of the sparks. Well, on the bright side, at least they're getting better at getting the video out.
Yeah, the video quality's been amazing, very consistent.
Carbon could be better choice of... they're actually not that far off on... Stainless steel is good for certain things, bad for others. It's good for everything except it's heavy. Yeah, so we're getting lots of... This is... I don't see this as a win. Like I was saying, this always was the difficult bit, was getting the thing to survive re-entry. Is where the large amounts of energy is. It is beautiful that you can see the oxides on the top, though. Yeah, I'll have to look at what sort of temperature that happens at. But oh yeah, this is okay. 18,000 kilometers per hour. We're decelerating fairly quickly now. I think this is the peak heating part. I know this. It's yeah. No, this is just a popcorn stream. I mean, I'm just. But yeah, I figure this is the firing.
I still think
that,
these sparks could be from the ionosphere.
Even if it survives like the last one did, this wouldn't be reusable. So I wonder which. So presumably, right? This is the thing. Starship is basically a cylinder. And so the bits on the side here get the least amount of heating. It's essentially cutting a cross-section through the atmosphere. So the shuttle got around this. You have essentially a big plate with the shuttle. And a big plate, you get fairly uniform heating on it. With this, yeah, this is definitely peak heating. And yeah, we're decelerating fast now. Yeah, so the thing is that the middle of Starship is where you get the highest heating loads. And that, I guess, is where the heat shield's kind of messed up. Where you'll also notice that the color of the burning metal has shifted from white to orange. That's basically, as we're getting deeper into the atmosphere, there's more gas, so it cools down quicker. Okay, but we're almost there. So it looks like it might survive re-entry, but it's oh no, it's melting through. It's melting through. It's melting through on one of the wings. I saw it. It's like the last one. So oh, this is real. Yeah, it's melting through here. You see?
So they couldn't fix the
On the
problem.
bright side, it did better than last time. Yeah, okay, we're past peak heating now. Yeah, this is not survivable. Even if the core tanks survive like they did last time. Yeah, this was always the tricky bit. Falcon 9 never managed to make a reusable second stage. Shuttle's the only thing that really successfully managed to do it. Yeah, I mean, they reused the boosters on the shuttle.
I'm pretty sure they used parachutes for the descent, not just slam
like
into the ocean.
A giant sparkler with, yeah, it's cooling down now. So as you get into the thicker atmosphere, there's more gas to take the energy away, and you're not going as fast anymore. So it's going to survive, but it's not survived. It's not reusable.
Yeah, you wouldn't want this trying to make the landing. The booster was on fire enough.
Recovering the booster? I mean, it's nice, I guess, but unless you can get a reusable second stage, did you really achieve anything? This is almost exactly the same as last time. You hear about the nozzles? Ablative wings. Yeah. So, you know, the thing with the shuttle is they went through a lot of R&D to... previously, they had ablative... Apollo used ablative heat shields that basically you allow it to burn away progressively. Yeah, this actually looks...
Starship looks like
down
shit.
To 7,000 kilometers per hour. 7 times the speed of sound. Thoroughly hypersonic. Oh, look at those bright white flashes. Yeah, so speed of bullets are, give or take, 1,000 kilometers per hour. I think, yeah. I work in meters per second, sensible unit. So yeah, we're now down to... oh my god, this looks like... Okay, they moved the cameras, so the cameras didn't get all sooted up, but... I didn't see the engines burning, so yeah, credit for little things, I guess. 1 hour, 41 minutes. We are traveling 4 times the speed of sound at an altitude of 35 kilometers. That's roughly the altitude that planes fly at. So if you're in a plane over the Indian Ocean, look out to your left. You will see a glowing Starship. Yeah, just coming back from space, and it'll be night. It would look pretty. It would look pretty funky. So 30 kilometers. So now you're essentially in the free fall phase of all of this. That count the seconds to lose a kilometer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you're falling roughly at the speed of sound at the moment. You've objects falling from space. You know, if you drop them, they usually hit the ground at about 2 times the speed of sound. And the reason it's dark after the light show is because it's on the other side of the planet, and so it's Indian Ocean and it's dark there. Things you learn from actually paying attention to stuff. Like I was saying, it's a popcorn stream. I don't care that much. Right, what are we at? 20 kilometers. Actually, I was wrong. Planes fly at 10 kilometers. Ignore everything I said about the planes flying at 40 kilometers. It's, yeah, 10 kilometers is the altitude of Mount Everest. It's also
I think he was thinking about 35,000 feet.
Sorry. Yeah.
35 is like how many feet in thousands
they have
a lot of planes are at.
On their little wingy things. They're falling sideways. Right, what are we at? They're at 15 kilometers. when you're going down 1 kilometer every 3 seconds, that's the speed of sound. So it's slower than the speed of sound. Okay, that's not bad. 13 kilometers. So it's... Oh, there's a lot of movement going on the wings. It's got lights on it. Someone actually put lights on this thing so you can see what the hell's going on in the dark. But probably not enough lights, or maybe some of them melted. But okay, we're down to the altitude of planes that fly at. And... 1. So typically, if you take a look at the way these things usually land, your burn is you're about the speed of sound at 1 kilometer, and then you've got to lose that last speed of soundy type amount of energy in the last few seconds of flight. So okay, we're coming up on the interesting bit. So we're at 4 kilometers. It's going down slow. This is like half the speed of sound free fall. But that's not far off what you expect. It's a giant empty tube at the moment. Oh, it's got a slightly nose down elevation. Okay. So what you're looking at now is what happens on this guy here. So about now, you should light up your engines and this guy should flip over. Maybe 0. Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, these are your engines lighting up at 0 kilometers. And he's overcooked. And there's a lot of black smoke coming off there.
Yeah, what's that about? Must be those leaves.
Huh. I wonder what the black smoke was. It's quite hard to burn methane. That's the end of the feed. That's presumably when it blows up. Yes, okay. Well, there you go.
Whoa, who's getting that footage, man? Oh, that might be like your robotic camera.
Thundercope, yes.
Well, that was fun.
Looks so almost like a... Yeah, night in the Indian Ocean. My God, is that still glowing red hot from the orbital re-entry thing? Okay, well, I guess in order to go to Mars, first of all, you must make it to the Indian Ocean. Well, getting better, I suppose. It's
There's still fuel in there.
It's nose down in the water. They landed actually close to where they wanted to, so, but this is not a reusable vehicle, and that's the difficult bit.
Definitely not.
We're getting the booster back. That's nice.
Okay. I am so freaking tired. I did not want to get up as early as I did, but you know what? It can be worth it. And I did want to stream this since IFT-4, so I'm glad I did it. There's no one in chat, so I'm just